The priming effect is a fascinating psychological phenomenon where exposure to certain stimuli influences an individual's subsequent thoughts, feelings, or behaviors. This effect is often subtle, operating below the level of conscious awareness, yet its impact can be profound. In marketing and advertising, the priming effect is skillfully employed to shape consumer choices, guiding them towards specific products or services without overt persuasion. Imagine walking into a grocery store. As you enter, you smell freshly baked bread wafting through the air. This aroma is not merely a pleasant sensation. It primes your brain, evoking feelings of comfort and warmth. As you stroll down the aisle, your subconscious is nudged towards the bakery section. The scent acts as a silent prompt, drawing you in and possibly leading to an impulse buy of a loaf of bread, even if you hadn't planned to purchase it. This is the priming effect in action, subtly influencing your decisions without you even realizing it. Another effective example can be seen in how colors are used in branding and advertising. For instance, think about the color red. It is often associated with excitement, passion, and energy. Fast food chains frequently use red in their logos and decor, creating an environment that primes customers to feel hungry and eager to indulge. When you see those bright red signs, your mind may automatically associate them with delicious food, thereby influencing your decision to stop and grab a bite. The strategic use of color is a powerful method of priming, enhancing the attractiveness of the brand and its offerings. In the digital realm, online advertisements leverage the priming effect through imagery and context. Consider an ad for a luxury car displayed alongside articles about travel and lifestyle. The visual cues combined draw upon your associations with sophistication, adventure, and comfort. As you read about the exciting experiences one can have while traveling, your mind links those feelings with the idea of driving a luxury car. You might find yourself picturing yourself behind the wheel, evoking a desire to learn more or even make a purchase. This seamless integration of cues exemplifies how, not just words, but visuals and context serve to prime consumers in the digital landscape. Additionally, subtle language choices in advertising can also act as primes. For instance, take an advertisement for organic food that highlights terms like fresh, natural, and pure. These words evoke vivid imagery and feelings associated with health and well-being. The choice of language primes potential customers to think positively about the product, shaping their perceptions and encouraging them to choose organic options over conventional ones. Such linguistic tactics can turn an ordinary product into a desirable choice, influencing behavior in a meaningful way. The priming effect extends beyond the immediate realm of consumerism. In social settings, it can shape interpersonal interactions. For example, if someone is exposed to words associated with kindness or cooperation, they are more likely to exhibit helpful behaviors in subsequent interactions. Think about a scenario where people read positive affirmations before engaging in a group project. These subtle cues can create a more collaborative atmosphere, leading everyone to work together more harmoniously. Furthermore, priming can even shape our attitudes towards certain concepts or groups. Research has shown that exposure to diverse imagery and representations can lead to a more open-minded perspective. When people are primed with positive portrayals of different cultures or communities, they may become more accepting and understanding, breaking down preconceived notions. This application of priming showcases its capacity to influence not just consumer behavior, but societal attitudes in broader contexts. So why does priming work so effectively? The answer lies in the brain's neural processes. Our brains are constantly seeking patterns and connections, and priming taps into this innate tendency. Subtle cues activate related memories and emotions, shaping our perceptions and guiding our choices. This process is often automatic, making it an incredibly subtle yet powerful tool in influencing behavior. In conclusion, the priming effect is an intriguing psychological principle that plays a significant role in marketing, advertising, and even social interactions. By using subtle cues, whether through sensory experiences, color schemes, language choices, or contextual framing, marketers can guide consumer behavior in ways that may not be immediately apparent. The next time you find yourself drawn to a product or idea, consider the invisible cues that may have influenced your choice. They are all part of the intricate dance of the priming effect, working quietly in the background to shape our thoughts and actions. Imagine you walk into a store looking for a handbag. As you browse through the shelves, you spot a stylish handbag priced at $00. It catches your eye, and you think about how much you like it. As you continue exploring, you see another handbag for $00. Suddenly, the first handbag seems like a bargain, even though it is still quite expensive. This phenomenon, where the first piece of information you encounter influences your decisions, is known as anchoring bias. Anchoring bias is a cognitive shortcut that relies on the initial piece of information, often called an anchor, to make judgments or decisions. This can happen in various situations, from shopping to negotiations or even personal relationships. Researchers have found that anchors can skew our perceptions and lead us to make less than optimal choices, simply because we often rely too heavily on initial information, even if it is not relevant. Consider another example. Imagine you are negotiating a salary for a new job. The first number mentioned, either by you or the employer, can serve as an anchor that affects the rest of the negotiation. If the starting offer is 0,000, you might find it difficult to consider offers below that figure, even if market research shows that the role typically pays 0,000. Your judgment is anchored to that first number, which may not represent the best outcome overall. Anchoring can also influence our everyday decision-making in subtle ways. For instance, when you plan to watch a new movie, you might look at the critics' rating first. If you see that a highly rated film has a score of 90%, you might compare every other movie you consider later against that score. In this case, the first rating could unfairly skew your perception of the second film, even if it genuinely deserves a high rating on its own. In addition to individual decisions, anchoring bias can also play a role in group dynamics. Think about a team discussing budget allocations. If someone proposes an initial budget of $1 million, later discussions are likely to hover around that figure, even if the actual needs suggest a lower budget would suffice. The original proposal serves as a reference point that can lead to agreements that do not align with reality. This phenomenon often makes it difficult to assess needs accurately, or to consider alternatives that might offer better value. You may also encounter anchoring bias in the context of marketing. Companies often use this mental shortcut to influence consumer behavior. Picture a sale where a product is marked down from $00 to $50. The original price acts as an anchor, making the reduced price appear more attractive. The buyer may feel a sense of urgency, believing they are getting a great deal, and make a hurried purchase without evaluating whether they truly need the item or whether it is genuinely worth that price. By presenting the initial cost, businesses skillfully guide the perception of value. Even in social contexts, anchoring bias can color our judgments. Think of a situation where a friend describes their recent vacation. He mentions he spent 000 on his trip to a tropical island. Later, when you consider planning your own vacation, his figure might unknowingly influence your expectations. If you initially think you might spend around 000, the anchor of your friend's experience could elevate your anticipated budget without you even realizing it. Recognizing anchoring bias in our own lives is crucial for making more informed decisions. Acknowledging how the first piece of information affects our judgment enables us to take a step back and evaluate the situation more critically. By seeking out additional information, questioning the relevance of initial anchors, and being willing to adjust preconceived notions, we can minimize the influence of anchors on our decisions. Ultimately, the next time you find yourself swayed by an initial impression, remember that what you first hear may not be the whole story. By sharpening your awareness and practicing critical thinking, you can create a more balanced approach to decision-making. Anchoring bias serves as a reminder of the complexities of our thought processes, cautioning us to be mindful of the subtle ways our minds can be influenced. Understanding this cognitive bias empowers you to make decisions that reflect a more accurate understanding of the world around you, free from the constraints of initial anchors. Imagine you are walking down the street and come across a food truck with a long line of people waiting to be served. Instantly, you feel a sense of intrigue. What makes this food truck so special that so many people are willing to wait? Without even tasting the food, you may already assume that it must be delicious and worth the wait. This phenomenon is an example of social proof, a psychological concept that influences our decisions based on the actions and behaviors of others. Social proof helps us navigate through uncertainty by looking to those around us for guidance. It is a natural tendency for people to follow the behaviors and choices of others, assuming that if many people are doing something, it must be the right or good thing to do. This concept is deeply rooted in our social nature as humans. We want to feel connected, accepted, and secure within our communities, and following the crowd can serve as a shortcut to make decisions, especially in unfamiliar situations. The idea of social proof can be seen in myriad aspects of daily life. For example, consider online reviews when shopping for a product. When browsing an e-commerce website, you might notice a product with thousands of positive reviews. The sheer volume of positive feedback creates a powerful influence on your perception. Even before you read any specific comments, the number itself can encourage you to trust that this product is more likely to meet your needs compared to another, less reviewed option. This mental shortcut simplifies decision-making in a world overflowing with choices. The impact of social proof is also strongly felt in the realm of social media. When content is shared or liked by many users, it garners even more attention. This can create a snowball effect known as viral marketing, where a single post or video captures widespread interest and rapidly spreads across platforms. Have you ever noticed a video that keeps popping up in your feed, shared by countless friends? The collective engagement often makes it more appealing. You may find yourself curious to see what all the fuss is about, driven by a desire to connect with others who are sharing in the experience. Social proof can also extend to social behaviors and trends. Picture a trendy restaurant buzzing with customers on a Friday night. The atmosphere exudes excitement and energy. It's likely that you would want to check it out yourself, driven by the idea that everyone seems to be enjoying their time there. Conversely, if you came across a quiet, empty restaurant, you might reconsider your dining choice, thinking that if no one else is there, perhaps the food isn't very good or the service isn't worth it. Interestingly, social proof has been employed in advertising and marketing for decades. It's common for brands to highlight statistics or testimonials to persuade potential customers. For instance, an advertisement might proclaim that a particular skincare product is the #1 chosen by dermatologists. By citing this authority and emphasizing the consensus among professionals, they appeal to consumers' social proof instincts, nudging them closer to making a purchase. One particularly interesting aspect of social proof is its connection to the concept of Bandwagon Effect. This effect describes how individuals often adopt certain behaviors primarily because they see others adopting those behaviors. Think back to popular fashion trends or internet challenges. When they gain traction, it can seem almost irresistible to join in. The more people you see participating, the more compelled you might feel to hop on the bandwagon, even if you initially had no interest in the idea. The phenomenon of social proof doesn't stop at shopping or social media, though. It permeates various areas of life. In charitable giving, for example, donors may feel inspired to contribute when they see others doing the same. Crowdfunding platforms often display the number of contributors alongside the funds raised, tapping into social proof to encourage more donations. When individuals see that many others are supporting a cause, they're more likely to feel compelled to join in, believing their contributions matter. However, social proof can occasionally lead us astray. Just as it can guide us towards positive decisions, it can also amplify negative behavior. If a group of individuals is engaging in reckless or harmful activities, others may feel compelled to join in rather than resist. This highlights the dual-edged nature of social proof. It can promote collaboration and connection, but it can also lead to conformity and groupthink. In the era of digital interaction, social proof has transformed in its applications, becoming a vital aspect of how we consume and share information. Likes, shares, followers, and ratings are now more than just numbers. They serve as beacons that indicate approval or disapproval. Whether scrolling through social media or navigating an online marketplace, these metrics profoundly influence our perceptions and choices. Understanding social proof allows us to not only recognize the subtle influences in our daily lives, but also to navigate them deliberately. Knowing that our behavior can also serve as social proof for others might lead to more conscious decisions. Perhaps next time you're out for dinner, you'll think about how your dining choice could sway someone walking by later. We are all interconnected, and our choices echo in the larger web of society. In the end, social proof is a fascinating phenomenon that reflects our innate desire to belong and be informed. It illustrates how our behaviors are influenced by those around us, shaping everything from our purchasing decisions to our social interactions. As you observe the world and the choices made by others, remember that you are an integral part of this dynamic, creating ripples of influence in your own right. In the complex world of human interactions, one principle stands out as a cornerstone of social behavior: the Reciprocity Norm. This unwritten rule suggests that when someone does something for us, we often feel a strong urge to return the favor. It's a powerful concept that shapes relationships, influences decisions, and significantly impacts the world of business. Imagine you walk into a coffee shop And, as a friendly gesture, the barista hands you a small sample of their new seasonal drink. That simple act of generosity creates an immediate connection. You may find yourself feeling compelled to buy that drink, or perhaps another item from the menu. This is the essence of the reciprocity norm in action. The barista didn't just offer a free sample, they initiated a cycle of giving that encourages you to respond in kind. The reciprocity norm is not just a social quirk. It has been studied extensively and is deeply rooted in our evolutionary past. Researchers suggest that this behavior has developed as a social survival strategy. Communities that relied on mutual aid and sharing had a competitive edge over those that did not. By fostering a sense of obligation and gratitude, groups could ensure the survival and flourishing of their members. Businesses have adeptly harnessed this principle to boost sales and enhance customer loyalty. Consider the strategy of free samples. Imagine walking through a grocery store and encountering a friendly attendant offering tastes of gourmet cheeses or delectable snacks. The mere act of trying something new not only tantalizes your taste buds, but also creates a sense of indebtedness. You're likely to feel that you owe it to the generous sampler to purchase something from their display. This tactic is effective because it taps into a fundamental human instinct. It doesn't matter if you're conscious of it or not, the feeling of obligation arises quickly. You might not even be particularly hungry or need a new item, but the social pressure to reciprocate these small gestures often leads to a purchase. It's almost as if a psychological contract is formed in that fleeting moment. The reciprocity norm is also prevalent in the realm of online marketing. Think about email subscriptions and free trials. A website offering a free ebook or a trial period for a new app leverages this principle skillfully. Once you benefit from something without any cost, there's a higher likelihood that you will eventually sign up for the paid version or buy something else from the same source. This strategy creates an environment where users feel an affinity for the brand, as if they have received a gift that elevates their loyalty. Moreover, this norm extends beyond mere transactions. It can foster relationships within communities. Nonprofit organizations often utilize the power of reciprocity by providing free resources, information, or support to those in need. Those who receive assistance may later feel compelled to contribute back to the organization, either through donations or volunteer work, thus creating a cycle of giving and receiving that strengthens the entire community. However, the reciprocity norm is not solely about transactions or obligations. It also explores the emotional aspects of our interactions. This is where we must recognize that the favors we give and receive can create a deeper level of connection. When a friend assists us during a difficult time, we feel a bond that can transcend the initial act of kindness. Our response doesn't just become a matter of duty, it evolves into a desire to nurture that relationship. Interestingly, the effectiveness of the reciprocity norm can sometimes hinge on the perceived value of the initial gesture. If someone offers a small favor, it often inspires a situation where a similar or greater favor is returned. For example, when a friend helps you move, you might feel inclined to host them for dinner, or help them with a project later. The size or significance of these gestures plays a role in determining how we reciprocate. In the competitive world of business, companies are continuously seeking new ways to engage their audience while fostering a sense of loyalty. Creative campaigns that incorporate the reciprocity norm might involve loyalty programs where customers receive something back for their purchases, nurturing a sense of ongoing engagement. These programs transform a mere transaction into a fulfilling experience where customers feel valued and appreciated. In essence, the reciprocity norm is a powerful influencer, rich with implications for both personal relationships and business strategies. It represents an intrinsic part of human psychology that encourages connections built on mutual assistance, kindness, and a willingness to give as much as we take. As you engage in daily interactions, take a moment to observe how the principle of reciprocity influences your relationships and decisions, both in subtle and pronounced ways. Understanding this aspect of human behavior not only enhances our awareness of social dynamics, but also enables us to navigate our personal and professional lives with greater insight and intention. Have you ever noticed how sometimes a small favor can lead to bigger ones down the road? It's a fascinating phenomenon known as the foot in the door technique. This concept hinges on a simple psychological principle. When people agree to a small request, they tend to be more open to agreeing to a larger request later on. This method is often used in various fields, including marketing, negotiation, and everyday interactions. To understand how this technique works, let's imagine a scenario. Picture a charity organization that wants to raise funds for a new community project. Instead of directly asking potential donors for large sums of money, they first ask them to sign a petition supporting their initiative. The initial request is small and non-threatening, requiring minimal effort. Most people, sensing the low commitment, agree to sign. Once they have committed to this tiny action, the charity then finds that those same individuals are more likely to later agree to a larger request, such as donating a specific amount of money or volunteering for an event. There's a psychological reason behind the effectiveness of the foot-in-the-door technique. It relates to the concept of self-perception. When a person agrees to a small request, they begin to see themselves as someone who supports that cause or idea. This shift in self-identity makes them more likely to say yes to further requests that align with that identity. In essence, they become more invested because they have already taken a small step toward commitment. Let's delve a bit deeper with an example. Consider a company that sells home improvement products. Instead of immediately pitching a full renovation service, the salesperson might ask a homeowner if they're interested in a free brochure that outlines different options. This minor step is easy for the homeowner to agree to. Once they have accepted this small offer, the company can now ask for a larger commitment, such as a consultation for a renovation project. At this point, the homeowner may feel more inclined to agree, having already taken that first step. The success of this technique can also be observed in social situations. Think of how we sometimes ask friends for small favors, like borrowing a book or asking for help with a project. Once they agree to this minor request, you might feel comfortable approaching them for more significant help, such as assisting with a move or organizing an event. The initial agreement builds rapport and increases the likelihood that they will say yes again. Interestingly, this technique isn't just limited to personal requests or fundraising. It has been studied extensively in various contexts across psychology and marketing. For instance, researchers have found that when people receive a small sample of a product, they are more likely to purchase a full-size version later on. In this way, the foot-in-the-door technique can play a pivotal role in consumer behavior, driving sales and building brand loyalty. Now, let's consider the impact of this approach in persuasive communication. If you're preparing for a presentation or trying to convince someone of your viewpoint, starting with a mild, agreeable statement can make your audience more receptive to your main argument. By establishing a base of agreement, you facilitate an environment where larger, more pivotal points can be discussed without resistance. The effectiveness of the foot-in-the-door method can also bring interesting dynamics into professional settings. In negotiations, for example, if one party can secure initial minor concessions from the other, they are likely to succeed in obtaining larger concessions as discussions progress. This can be especially helpful in situations where trust and goodwill are crucial. However, there's an important ethical dimension to consider when applying this technique. While it can be a powerful tool for persuasion, it should be used responsibly. Manipulating someone into a series of agreements without their genuine consent can lead to a loss of trust. Ultimately, maintaining transparency and respecting the other party's autonomy is critical. In conclusion, the foot-in-the-door technique illustrates how small, seemingly insignificant requests can pave the way for larger agreements. From fundraising to marketing and interpersonal interactions, the power of this approach is evident across various fields. As we engage in our daily lives, remembering the impact of a simple yes can shape our interactions, influence decisions, and even foster relationships. Whether in personal endeavors or professional pursuits, embracing the foot-in-the-door principle can lead to mutually beneficial outcomes. Next time you find yourself in a situation where you'd like to convince someone, consider starting small. It may just open the door to bigger possibilities. The scarcity principle is a fascinating concept rooted in psychology and economics, which suggests that when something is perceived to be in limited supply, its desirability increases. This principle has profound implications for how we make decisions, particularly in the realms of sales and marketing. Understanding this principle can provide insights into why certain products fly off the shelves while others linger unnoticed. Consider a classic example: a limited edition sneaker release. Imagine a popular brand announcing a collaboration with a famous designer, but only producing a small quantity. The moment the news breaks, excitement builds around this exclusivity. People talk about it on social media, and soon what was just a shoe becomes a cultural phenomenon. Individuals may queue for hours or even days, eager to secure their pair, driven not just by fashion, but by the fear of missing out. That's the scarcity principle at work. The awareness that supply is limited transforms an ordinary consumer product into a coveted item. Retailers have long recognized this psychological trigger. Sales often feature phrases such as limited time offer or only a few left. This strategy creates urgency, prompting consumers to act quickly, driven by the thought that if they don't buy now, they might miss out entirely. It's an effective tactic that plays on our inherent fear of losing opportunities, known as loss aversion, which is often stronger than our desire for gains. Think about the holiday shopping season, when many retailers offer doorbuster sales with limited stock. The implication is clear. Only a certain number of items are available at a steep discount, and once they're gone, so is the deal. This urgency fuels a shopping frenzy, as customers race to secure what they want before it runs out. The retailers aren't just selling products. They are tapping into deep-seated human emotions, creating a sense of urgency that can push individuals to make purchases, sometimes impulsively. Another prime illustration is in the real estate market. When a house goes on the market and is described as a, quote, hot property, complete with phrases like won't last long or high demand, potential buyers feel the pressure to act quickly. The perception that there are others interested adds to the urgency. People may bid higher, driven by the desire to secure the property before someone else does. The knowledge that the house may not be available tomorrow leads to quicker decisions, showcasing the power of scarcity in influencing behavior. The digital world also leverages the scarcity principle through countdown timers or limited availability notifications. When an online store displays that only a few items are left in stock, or indicates that a special deal expires in a few hours, it creates a narrative of scarcity. Consumers respond to such cues, rushing to make a purchase motivated by the fear of losing out on a good deal. Even the ability to join the wait list for an item can enhance its perceived value, creating a sense of exclusivity. Scarcity isn't only about products, it extends to services as well. Consider exclusive memberships or elite clubs. When access is restricted to a select few, interest skyrockets. People may perceive enhanced value in the service due to its limited availability. This concept is why luxury brands often maintain exclusive products with limited production runs. The rarity of an item can enhance its prestige and desirability significantly. Interestingly, this principle can also apply to non-tangible options. For example, a limited-time webinar or an exclusive online course can attract more participants when the slots are limited. The idea that there are only a few spots available heightens interest and urgency to sign up. This tactic not only boosts attendance, but also fosters a perception of value surrounding the experience being offered. Social proof is another interesting aspect of the scarcity principle. When individuals see others rushing to buy a product or participate in an opportunity, it can create a bandwagon effect. This is why limited-time offers can quickly become popular. The sight of a product being sold out, or of people clamoring for it, signals that it is desirable, encouraging others to join in. The perception of scarcity becomes self-reinforcing as more people demonstrate a desire for the limited item, further inducing others to act. In everyday life, the scarcity principle plays a pivotal role in our choices, shaping our desires and behaviors. It reminds us how perception can skew reality and impact consumer behavior. As we navigate a world full of choices, understanding this principle not only sheds light on marketing strategies, but also helps us become more discerning consumers. Recognizing when scarcity is being used as a psychological tool enables us to pause, evaluate our actual needs, and make more informed decisions. In conclusion, the scarcity principle is a powerful driver of demand, illustrating how limited availability can increase desirability. From the digital marketplace to traditional retail, sales strategies often hinge on this principle to create urgency and enhance customer engagement. Whether it's a limited edition product, exclusive services, or simply the fear of missing out, scarcity influences our choices in profound ways. Being aware of this principle empowers us to navigate our decisions with a clearer perspective, ensuring that we make choices based on our true preferences rather than emotional triggers. Embracing this understanding transforms the way we engage with the world around us, enabling us to appreciate both the value and the psychology behind the things we choose to pursue. Imagine walking into a coffee shop and encountering a barista with an inviting smile and a warm greeting. In that moment, you may presume they are not only friendly, but also hardworking, intelligent, and capable. This phenomenon is known as the halo effect. It occurs when our impression of one positive characteristic influences our views on other unrelated traits. The halo effect can be seen in various aspects of life. For instance, think of a teacher whose charisma captivates students. Because of that charm, students might believe the teacher is also knowledgeable, approachable, and organized, regardless of their actual teaching skills. This effect twists perceptions in ways that can be both beneficial and misleading. In an employment scenario, a job candidate who dresses well and carries themselves confidently may be judged more favorably during an interview. The interviewer may unconsciously associate their polished appearance with skills like competence and ambition. However, the neat outfit does not necessarily correlate with the applicant's ability to perform the job successfully. Studies have shown that this effect extends beyond personal interactions. For example, in marketing, brands often portray their products through images or messages that showcase one strong positive quality, such as luxury or innovation. When consumers see these appealing attributes, they can inadvertently assign other positive traits to the brand itself, leading to an overall favorable bias. In relationships, we often witness the halo effect between partners. If one person excels in a particular area, say they are a great cook, the other partner may overlook flaws that would normally bother them, such as a lack of punctuality or forgetfulness. The tasty meals create a halo that softens perceptions of other, less desirable traits. The impact of the halo effect is not just limited to social situations. In the realm of sports, think about a star athlete who commands a lot of media attention. If this athlete performs exceptionally well in their sport, fans often praise their character off the field as well. However, the truth may not always align with this perception, as we may be overlooking less admirable qualities in our admiration. In professional settings, leadership is another area significantly influenced by the halo effect. Leaders with strong communication skills and charismatic leadership styles often gain trust and admiration from their teams. This may blind followers to shortcomings in their decision-making or strategic judgment, leading to a distorted view of their overall capabilities. Notably, the halo effect isn't inherently negative. It can motivate individuals to recognize their positive traits and leverage them in various contexts. For instance, if someone is aware that their smile creates a welcoming atmosphere, they may intentionally use that charm to create positive interactions, leading to a ripple effect where good vibes foster collaboration and connection among colleagues. Nevertheless, the downside lies in the potential for misjudgment. When we let our perception of one attribute overshadow others, we risk making assumptions that may deter us from seeing a fuller, more nuanced picture. This could lead to disappointment, especially when the admired person or brand does not behave according to our misplaced expectations. To combat the halo effect, we can practice critical thinking. It helps to actively challenge our assumptions by asking ourselves questions about a person or situation that may not align with the initial positive attributes we have identified. This conscious effort to evaluate the context and seek a balanced perspective can minimize the influence of bias. An exercise to become more aware of the halo effect involves reflection. The next time you meet someone new, take a step back and separate your observations into distinct categories. What strengths do you perceive? What weaknesses might exist? By acknowledging both sets, you can create a more rounded understanding of that person. Furthermore, recognizing the halo effect can enhance our decision-making in professional environments. When evaluating applicants, for example, assess each skill independently, focusing on qualifications rather than superficial traits. This approach might open the door to candidates who lack charisma but possess precision and expertise that shine through their technical capabilities. The halo effect holds a prominent place in our interactions, shaping our opinions and experiences in profound ways. By developing awareness of this phenomenon, we can improve our judgment, relationships, and understanding of those around us. Embracing a mindset that seeks to look beyond initial impressions, invites deeper conversations, and can lead to more trusting and authentic connections. As a fascinating element of human psychology, the halo effect reveals much about our interpretations and beliefs. It encourages us to reflect both on the weight of our judgments and the importance of seeing individuals in their entirety. By expanding our perspective, we enrich our world and foster more genuine interactions, paving the way for more authentic engagement in relationships, work, and daily encounters. Understanding and navigating the halo effect allows us to appreciate the complexity of human nature while creating environments that support openness and growth. Imagine you're deciding whether to invest in a new business venture. You have two options in front of you. Option A promises a potential gain of $100, while option B presents a potential loss of $100. Which one do you think would evoke a stronger reaction? Surprisingly, for many people, the fear of losing that $100 can feel more intense than the joy of gaining the same amount. This phenomenon is known as loss aversion, a concept rooted in behavioral economics. It explains why people often make decisions based on the potential losses rather than potential gains. Research has shown that losses can weigh on us more heavily than equivalent gains, highlighting a fundamental quirk in human psychology. For example, studies have suggested that the emotional impact of losing $100 may be felt about twice as strongly as the pleasure from gaining the same amount. This asymmetry in how we perceive losses and gains can significantly influence our choices in various aspects of life, from investing in stocks to making everyday purchases. This principle is not just limited to financial decisions, it extends to our social and emotional experiences as well. Think about a situation where you receive a compliment and then immediately receive a criticism. Chances are, the criticism leaves a stronger mark on your psyche, affecting your feelings and actions far more than the compliment could lift them. In the world of sales and marketing, understanding loss aversion can be a game changer. Businesses often frame their products or services in a way that highlights what potential customers might lose if they don't make a purchase. For instance, a subscription service might emphasize that potential subscribers will miss out on exclusive content or special deals if they don't sign up. This tactic leverages loss aversion to motivate consumers, making them feel that not choosing the service equates to missing out, not just a chance to gain something new. Similarly, in risk management, practitioners aim to minimize potential losses more aggressively than they pursue potential gains. An investor, for instance, may be more inclined to avoid a risky asset after experiencing a substantial loss in the past, even if there is a likelihood of higher returns. This cautious approach can be seen in retirement planning as well, where individuals may prefer safer investments once they have experienced any form of loss, reflecting a desire to prevent any future declines in their savings. Loss aversion also shapes the way we evaluate options in day-to-day scenarios. Imagine a situation where you're deciding between two job offers. One job pays a high salary, and the other offers a slightly lower salary, but promises a better work-life balance. If you focus solely on the higher pay, you may overlook the valuable aspects that could enhance your overall satisfaction and well-being in the lower-paying role. Here, the potential loss of higher income can overshadow the gains of improved quality of life. The implications of loss aversion don't stop with individual choices. For policymakers, economists, and business leaders, understanding this principle can help design better strategies and solutions. When presenting new policies or changes, framing the potential disadvantages of sticking with the status quo can encourage stakeholders to accept new measures. By focusing on what they stand to lose by not adapting, leaders can drive change more effectively. You see this in environmental initiatives, where campaigns often stress the losses associated with inaction, like the loss of biodiversity and the decline in air quality, rather than just promoting the positive gains of taking action. This approach can create a more powerful and immediate sense of urgency, encouraging individuals and businesses alike to act. Interestingly, the effects of loss aversion can vary by individual, influenced by factors such as personality, past experiences, and even cultural background. Some people may be eager to take risks, while others might favor a more cautious approach in decision-making. Understanding these differences can be vital in areas like negotiations, where recognizing the other party's fears can lead to more successful outcomes. In conclusion, loss aversion is a powerful principle that shapes how we make decisions and interact with the world. By recognizing our inherent fear of losses, we can better navigate the choices we face daily, whether it's in finance, personal relationships, or even our professional lives. Rather than merely pursuing gains, being mindful of what we stand to lose can help us approach challenges with a more balanced perspective, allowing us to make choices that don't just consider potential profits, but also safeguard what we value most. Embracing this knowledge can ultimately lead to more fulfilling decisions and experiences, enriching our understanding of both ourselves and the world around us. Imagine you are in a cafe, staring at a menu of 3 different types of coffee. There's a small black coffee for $3, a large black coffee for $5, and a cappuccino for $4. At first glance, the large black coffee might seem a bit pricey compared to the small option, and the cappuccino might look like an odd choice. Now, what if the cafe decided to add a fourth option? Let's say they introduce a medium cappuccino priced closer to the large black coffee, maybe around $4.50. Suddenly, the options look different. The medium cappuccino serves as a decoy, making the large black coffee seem even more appealing. You begin to notice that for just 50 cents more, you can have that much larger cup of rich coffee instead of the small one. The medium cappuccino stands in between, drawing your attention back toward the large option, which now looks like the best value in comparison. This phenomenon is known as the Decoy Effect. It's a fascinating aspect of decision-making in psychology that shows how the introduction of a third option can significantly influence our choices. Many marketers and businesses have recognized the power of this effect and often use it as a strategic tool in pricing and presentation. Consider the case of a movie theater offering tickets. They might have a standard ticket for $10 and a VIP ticket for $15. You might be inclined to go for the standard ticket since it seems more economical. However, if the theater introduces a third option, say a premium ticket for $14 that includes a free drink and popcorn, the VIP ticket suddenly looks more appealing. The new option makes you reconsider the value of the VIP ticket, as spending just $1 extra for enhanced amenities feels like a great deal. The decoy effect can be observed in various contexts, beyond just food and entertainment. It appears in the world of tech products as well. Imagine you are looking to buy a new smartphone. There are two models, a budget version for $300 and a high-end version for $800. If the company adds a mid-range model priced at $600, potentially with slightly better features than the budget version, but not quite as impressive as the high-end model, your perspective changes. Suddenly, the $800 phone seems like a better value, offering you more beneficial features for just $200 more. This decision-making strategy taps into human behavior, showcasing our tendency to compare new and existing options rather than focusing purely on the others available. The decoy effect can also influence how we perceive quality. When faced with diverse pricing, we often use the higher cost option as a benchmark to evaluate the rest. The added choice encourages a re-evaluation of what constitutes good value. Marketers use this method not just for consumer goods, but also for services. Think about subscription plans. You might find 3 subscription options: the basic plan for $10 a month, the standard plan for $21, and the premium plan for $35. If a company nudges you toward the standard plan by introducing an equally compelling option priced at $30 with marginal benefits, suddenly many customers may gravitate toward the premium plan. The additional tier makes it easier for customers to see the value they receive from the pricier plan, even if they didn't initially intend to spend that much. Cafes, theaters, tech companies, and service providers aren't the only ones affected by the decoy effect. It can also have applications in our personal lives, from choosing what to wear, how to spend our money, or even making everyday decisions about groceries. Next time you are at the store deciding what to buy, pay attention to the options available to you. You might spot a decoy that reshapes your perspective on value. In essence, the decoy effect leverages our natural inclination to make comparisons, influencing our decisions in significant ways. By introducing a third option strategically, it can guide our thought processes and change perceptions dramatically. Understanding this psychological concept not only opens your eyes to where you might be nudged in everyday choices, but might also help you make more informed decisions, recognizing the influences at play. So, next time you find yourself evaluating multiple options, take a moment to consider how a new choice might be subtly altering your viewpoint. From your next coffee order to your tech purchases, the decoy effect continues to shape the landscape of decision-making in everyday life, guiding you with the promise of greater value at your fingertips. Confirmation bias is a fascinating psychological phenomenon that shapes the way we interpret the world around us. It refers to our tendency to seek out, interpret, and remember information in a way that aligns with our existing beliefs or preconceptions. This means that instead of considering information objectively, we often filter it through a lens that favors what we already think or feel. Imagine you are passionate about a particular political party. You might find yourself gravitating toward news articles or social media posts that speak positively about that party, while dismissing or downplaying information that presents a negative view. This isn't necessarily a deliberate choice. It's an instinctive response rooted in our cognitive processes. Our minds naturally seek to confirm what we already believe, which can lead us to focus only on the evidence that supports our views. In everyday life, confirmation bias can be observed in various scenarios. For example, If you believe that a certain diet is effective for weight loss, you are likely to pay attention to success stories and influential figures advocating for that diet, while ignoring research that suggests otherwise. This selective attention creates a mental environment where your beliefs are continually reinforced, making them feel more valid, regardless of the broader evidence available. The effects of confirmation bias extend beyond personal beliefs. They can significantly influence our decision-making processes. In a business context, a team leader might have a strong belief about the best strategy for a project. If they only seek feedback from team members who share their perspective, they risk missing out on valuable insights and important information. This can ultimately lead to subpar decisions that overlook potential challenges or alternative approaches. To delve deeper into this phenomenon, consider the impact of social media. Platforms tailored to individual interests can create echo chambers where users are predominantly exposed to content that aligns with their beliefs. This can reinforce confirmation bias significantly, as people interact more frequently with like-minded individuals while remaining unaware of opposing viewpoints. As a result, conversations become polarized, and nuanced discussions often take a backseat to affirming existing opinions. Another intriguing aspect of confirmation bias is how it influences our memory. When recalling information, we are more likely to remember facts or events that confirm our beliefs. For instance, if you are a sports fan who believes that your favorite team always performs better at home, you might vividly remember the games that reinforce this idea while forgetting instances where the team lost at home. This selective memory reinforces our preconceptions, creating a distorted view of reality that is often robust yet fundamentally flawed. To combat confirmation bias, it is crucial to develop an awareness of our tendencies and make a conscious effort to seek out diverse perspectives. One effective method is to engage with individuals who hold different viewpoints and try to understand their reasoning. This does not necessarily mean you must change your beliefs, but a broader knowledge base can help you form more nuanced opinions and develop critical thinking skills. Furthermore, questioning our assumptions can lead to valuable insights. Instead of immediately accepting information that aligns with our beliefs, we can challenge ourselves to consider opposing evidence. This curiosity can fuel personal growth and foster a deeper understanding of complex issues, ultimately making our conclusions more grounded in reality. Research has shown that confirmation bias is prevalent across various domains, including science and healthcare. In scientific studies, researchers may inadvertently favor data that supports their hypotheses, leading to skewed results. This makes it all the more important for the scientific community to practice rigorous peer reviews and be open to conclusions that may not align with current theories. In the realm of healthcare, confirmation bias can impact patient diagnoses. A doctor who has a preconceived notion about a patient's condition may focus on symptoms that confirm their initial diagnosis, while overlooking crucial information that could suggest an alternative diagnosis. This emphasizes the importance of thorough evaluations and remaining open-minded. Understanding confirmation bias can empower us to be better thinkers and decision-makers. By recognizing our propensity to cling to familiar beliefs, we can strive for a more balanced perspective. This journey involves embracing intellectual humility and being willing to explore the unknown. Opening ourselves to new viewpoints is not just about changing opinions, it is about cultivating a more comprehensive understanding of the world. In conclusion, confirmation bias is a powerful cognitive tendency that influences how we perceive information and the world around us. By becoming aware of this phenomenon and actively working to counteract its effects, we can foster clearer critical thinking and make decisions rooted in a more genuine understanding of reality. It is through this conscious effort that we can navigate the complexity of beliefs and cultivate a mindset of openness and inquiry that enriches our lives. Imagine walking into a room filled with paintings. Each piece is unique, showcasing a different style, color palette, and theme. At first glance, you might breeze past a few pieces without a second thought. However, as you stand there, taking your time, you find yourself drawn back to certain paintings. Why is that? This gradual fondness can often be explained by a psychological phenomenon known as the mere exposure effect. The mere exposure effect suggests that repeated exposure to a stimulus increases an individual's preference for that stimulus. Essentially, the more you encounter something, the more you tend to like it. This effect plays a significant role in various aspects of life, from personal relationships to consumer behavior. Take, for instance, how you might feel about a particular song. When you first hear it, it may not resonate with you. However, as the song plays on the radio, or you hear it at a friend's gathering, something begins to change. You catch yourself humming along. This is the mere exposure effect in action. The combination of familiarity and frequency can transform initial indifference into a genuine appreciation. In the realm of advertising and marketing, this psychological principle is harnessed extensively. Brands invest in repeated exposure to their products or logos, understanding that consistent visibility can translate into consumer preference. You might notice how a commercial for a soft drink appears on your screen multiple times during your favorite TV show, or how a specific logo seems to appear whenever you're scrolling through social media. This is intentional. Marketers recognize that when consumers see a brand frequently, they start to feel more comfortable with it. Over time, the brand begins to feel familiar, and a connection is formed. This approach is not merely about bombarding the audience with ads. It's a strategic effort to build a relationship. Picture a scenario where a new brand enters the market. If shoppers encounter its packaging on the shelves day after day, with eye-catching designs and catchy slogans, they might develop a preference for it over time. The real magic happens when the mere exposure leads to a positive emotional association. For instance, if a particular brand of cereal is advertised alongside fun family moments, laughter, and joy, every time you see that cereal box, the pleasant feelings evoked from those advertisements can enhance your liking. It becomes more than just a product. It transforms into a symbol of happiness and togetherness. Interestingly, this effect is not limited to just products or advertisements. It extends to people as well. Think about how you feel about a neighbor you've only seen from a distance. At first, they may seem like just another face in the crowd. But after seeing them regularly, perhaps during morning walks or community events, you may start to develop a sense of familiarity. That once unknown individual could eventually seem like a friend, all due to the power of repetition. In the digital age, the mere exposure effect is more prevalent than ever. Social media platforms constantly feed us images, messages, and brands we didn't know we needed. The algorithm creates a cycle of exposure that can deepen our preferences for certain influencers, styles, or products. The more we see them pop up in our feeds, the more appealing they become, subtly shaping our opinions and interests. However, this phenomenon can have its downsides. Sometimes, the mere exposure to negative stimuli can lead to unfavorable attitudes as well. For example, frequent exposure to negative news can foster a sense of anxiety or helplessness. The key here is the context in which the exposure occurs. Positive associations will enhance the effect, while negative ones might do the opposite. The mere exposure effect also plays a crucial role in shaping cultural trends. When a particular style, like a type of clothing or a popular catchphrase, becomes increasingly visible, it gains traction and acceptance. You might start seeing it on social media, in stores, and among your peers. The more it appears in your environment, the more likely you are to embrace it, even if you initially find it unappealing. Moreover, this effect is often utilized in the realm of politics and public opinion. Politicians and their campaigns often rely on visibility to reinforce their message. The more you hear their names, policies, or slogans, the more they become part of the conversation. This exposure can lead to familiarity, which can translate to favorability, regardless of the initial stance. As we navigate our daily lives, the mere exposure effect subtly influences our preferences in ways we may not fully recognize. From the choice of what to eat for lunch to the brands we select in the supermarket, this simple psychological principle plays a crucial, yet often overlooked role. So next time you find yourself gravitating towards a specific brand or style, take a moment to reflect. Was it love at first sight, or did you simply become more fond of it through repeated encounters? The answer might surprise you, showing just how powerful familiarity can be in shaping our preferences. The world around us is rich with stimuli, and the more we are exposed to certain things, the more we develop bonds, preferences, and affinities that guide our decisions each day. Imagine a teacher standing before a classroom filled with eager faces, ready to impart knowledge and inspire young minds. Among the students, some may seem more capable than others, stirring a natural inclination to focus on those deemed high achievers. But what if the power of someone's expectations could shift even the most reserved and uncertain student into the spotlight of success? This is where the Pygmalion Effect comes into play, revealing how our expectations can shape reality in astonishing ways. The Pygmalion Effect is a psychological phenomenon where higher expectations lead to an increase in performance. It was named after the Greek myth of Pygmalion, a sculptor who fell in love with a statue he carved, which subsequently came to life. Similarly, when individuals such as teachers or leaders hold higher hopes for their students or team members, those individuals often rise to meet those expectations. This concept has been extensively studied in educational settings, where the influence of teacher expectations has been shown to have a profound impact on student performance. Consider a scenario where a teacher has two groups of students. In one group, the teacher believes every student has the potential to excel. In the other group, the teacher holds a more skeptical view, believing that only a few students will achieve significant success. In the first group, students may be more engaged, feel more motivated, and ultimately perform better academically, simply because their teacher believed in them. This belief acts like a self-fulfilling prophecy, where the teacher's positive expectations reinforce the student's self-confidence, leading to better outcomes. Research highlights striking examples of this effect. In a well-known study conducted in an elementary school, teachers were led to believe that certain students had extraordinary potential based on the results of an intelligence test. As the academic year progressed, those students, labeled as, quote, gifted, outperformed their peers, not because of intrinsic ability differences, but due to the heightened expectations placed upon them by their teachers. This demonstrates how powerful belief in someone's potential can be, transforming their academic journey. The Pygmalion Effect is not confined only to the classroom. It extends to various areas of life, including workplaces, coaching situations, and personal relationships. When leaders expect their team members to deliver exceptional results, individuals often rise to those expectations, showing increased productivity and creativity. Likewise, coaches who believe in the capabilities of their players can galvanize those athletes to surpass their previous limits, driven by the encouragement and faith instilled in them. So what causes this transformation? It can largely be traced back to how people respond to varying levels of expectations. When individuals believe that they are viewed as capable, they are more likely to embrace challenges, take risks, and engage authentically with their tasks. Positive expectations can trigger a psychological state that fosters motivation, resilience, and a willingness to collaborate. For instance, in an office environment, if a manager consistently commends their team members' innovative ideas and urges them to think outside the box, the team feels empowered, often leading to a surge in creativity and problem-solving abilities. The intricacies of the Pygmalion Effect don't just end with simple belief. They also connect with concepts such as social dynamics and communication. Consider the impact of body language, tone, and feedback. A teacher who conveys enthusiasm with their voice and gestures while praising a student's small successes fosters a positive learning atmosphere. In contrast, a teacher who disapproves or seems indifferent may contribute to feelings of self-doubt and disengagement among students. This interplay between expectations, communication, and performance highlights how we interact with one another in powerful, often unrecognized ways. However, it is essential to navigate the Pygmalion Effect thoughtfully. While high expectations can uplift and motivate, unrealistic standards can also lead to undue stress and pressure. Striking a balance where individuals feel encouraged yet supported is crucial for true growth. It is not just about setting lofty goals, but about fostering an environment where individuals have the tools, resources, and belief in themselves to achieve those goals. As we explore this fascinating concept, let us reflect on its applications in everyday life. In schools, businesses, and personal relationships, the recognition of how expectations influence behavior can guide us in empowering ourselves and others. Rather than underestimating capabilities based on preconceived notions, why not encourage those around us to reach their fullest potential? Imagine the ripple effects that would follow when belief in potential transforms classrooms into thriving hubs of learning and workplaces into engines of innovation. In the end, the Pygmalion Effect urges us to consider the impact of our expectations on others. By nurturing and believing in each other, we can unlock doors to possibilities we may have never imagined. Imagine each challenge as an opportunity for growth and each interaction as a chance to uplift those around you. With this mindset, the power to inspire change becomes limitless. Harnessing the Pygmalion Effect isn't just about raising expectations. It's about fostering an environment where everyone can flourish and realize their true capabilities. This simple yet profound shift in perspective holds the key to unlocking a world of potential within ourselves and those we encounter along our journeys. Imagine you are at a yard sale, browsing through various items. You spot a vintage lamp that catches your eye. It's a little dusty, and it could use a fresh coat of paint, but you can instantly picture it in your living room. The seller has it priced at $20, but you hesitate. Suddenly, the seller mentions that they found this lamp in their grandmother's house, and it has a nostalgic value for them. Even though it may seem just like any other lamp, you find yourself reconsidering its worth. This scenario highlights an intriguing psychological concept known as the Endowment Effect, which plays a crucial role in how we perceive value and influence our trading behaviors. The Endowment Effect suggests that people assign greater value to things simply because they own them, rather than their objective market value. This phenomenon can be observed in various aspects of our lives, from common household items to more significant possessions like cars and real estate. Consider a simple experiment conducted to illustrate this concept. Participants were divided into two groups. One group was given mugs as a gift, while the other group received the same mugs but without ownership. After the distribution, the participants were asked how much they would be willing to sell or buy the mugs for. Remarkably, those who owned the mugs typically demanded twice as much as those who did not, resulting in an evident disparity in perceived value. This experiment sheds light on how ownership can transform the way we evaluate even the most mundane objects. Now, let's think about why this effect occurs. One reason could be tied to our emotional attachment to our belongings. When we own something, we tend to develop a bond with it. It becomes part of our identity. For instance, think of a beloved childhood toy that you cherished and preserved over the years. Even if its physical condition has faded, the sentimental value often outweighs any rational assessment of its worth. This emotional connection becomes so intertwined with our sense of self that letting go of these items feels like losing a piece of ourselves. The endowment effect also impacts marketplaces and negotiation strategies. When it comes to trading goods, people often overvalue their possessions. This can lead to scenarios where negotiations are hindered because the value one ascribes to their item does not match potential buyers. Have you ever tried to sell an unwanted item online, only to be met with lukewarm interest? You may find yourself initially setting a price based on your own perceived value, only to realize that the item has little appeal to others. Here, the endowment effect can create friction in trading behaviors, making it difficult for sellers to let go of their items. Another fascinating implication of the endowment effect relates to decision-making. Research has shown that people are more likely to take risks to protect their owned possessions than to acquire new ones. Imagine someone who has invested time and dedication into a personal project, like a garden. Even when considering planting new flowers, they might be unwilling to remove existing plants, despite the opportunity for improved aesthetics. This illustrates that the emotional investment in owned objects often leads to loss aversion. The fear of losing what we already possess overrides the potential for new experiences or gains. The endowment effect can also be seen in the realm of sports. Fans often ascribe incredible value to team merchandise, not necessarily due to its monetary worth, but because of the pride and identity it evokes. Wearing a team jersey is more than just a fashion choice. It represents loyalty and belonging. As such, fans may be reluctant to part with their memorabilia, even when faced with offers that exceed its market value. It's not merely a piece of clothing, it's a symbol of connection and shared experiences. In business, the endowment effect can impact investment decisions. Entrepreneurs, especially those who have invested significant time and resources into their ventures, may overvalue their businesses during negotiations. This can result in missed opportunities when they resist fair market evaluations. Understanding the endowment effect can help business owners gain a more objective perspective and ultimately make better decisions. Moreover, this phenomenon can extend to digital ownership in today's technology-driven world. Take, for instance, your smartphone. Impulse buying apps and cloud storage has made it easy to accumulate digital possessions. Games, music, and ebooks that we have purchased online can create a sense of ownership, giving us a sense of attachment. Despite their ephemeral nature, we often resist letting go of digital content, feeling that it holds more value than it might in the cold light of day. Overall, the endowment effect serves as a reminder of the complexities of human psychology and how our emotions shape our perceptions of value. From antique furniture to favorite sports teams, this phenomenon illustrates how ownership can transform our assessments and influence our decisions in both trivial and substantial matters. The next time you're evaluating the worth of an item, take a moment to reflect. Is it truly valuable, or is the attachment influencing how you see things? The answers might surprise you and shed light on the compelling ways our minds work when it comes to possessions. Imagine you are walking through a busy street, and your attention is caught by an advertisement promoting an exciting new product. This advertisement is not just eye-catching. It tantalizes you with hints and suggestions, leaving you wanting to know more. You might even find yourself lingering, thinking about the product long after you've passed by. What you're experiencing is a fascinating psychological phenomenon known as the Zeigarnik Effect. Named after the Russian psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik, this effect describes how we tend to remember uncompleted or interrupted tasks better than those we have finished. Zeigarnik first noticed this while observing waiters in a cafe. She found that waiters could recall orders that were still open in their heads much better than those that had already been completed. Why is that? The Zeigarnik Effect is deeply rooted in our cognitive processes. When a task remains incomplete, it creates a sense of tension or unfinished business. This feeling urges our minds to keep the task at the forefront, making it more memorable. Think about it. If you start a thrilling book and leave it halfway through, the tension and curiosity about the ending linger in your mind, urging you to return to it. You can't help but think about what's next. In the realm of advertising and marketing, the Zeigarnik Effect becomes a powerful tool. Advertisers often design campaigns that intentionally create a sense of incompleteness or intrigue. Picture a commercial that shows a delicious meal being prepared, but it cuts off just before the tasting moment. This clever technique leaves viewers yearning for more, compelling them to recall the advertisement when making a decision to eat out or try a new recipe. The same principle can apply to online content. Consider a web series that leaves cliffhangers at the end of each episode. The suspense keeps viewers coming back for more. They want to see how the story unfolds. They can't ignore the unresolved plot twist taking place. This is all part of how our minds crave closure. This craving is what advertisers tap into, understanding that leaving something unfinished keeps customers engaged. Have you ever found yourself remembering a brand more vividly after seeing a catchy slogan or a part of a story in a commercial? That's the Zeigarnik Effect at work. Advertisers play with your expectations, planting curiosity and prompting you to recollect the brand or product at a crucial moment, perhaps when you are in a store deciding what to buy. Another way the Zeigarnik Effect manifests is in our daily lives, especially when juggling multiple tasks. You might find that projects you have started but haven't completed stay fresh in your mind. Whether it's a home improvement project or a personal goal, the constant reminder of what's left to do keeps it alive in your thoughts. As you go about your day, the unfinished tasks might pop into your head unexpectedly, nudging at you to take action. This phenomenon can be harnessed in education too. Imagine learning a new concept in school without completing the whole module. The unfinished aspect of that learning may lead students to reflect back on it more often, leading to a stronger grasp of the material. The tension created by untapped knowledge drives the desire to understand more, encouraging students to seek additional resources and information. Even in conversations, think about how leaving a story incomplete can draw interest. When someone shares a captivating experience but pauses before revealing the ending, their audience is more likely to stay engaged, hanging on to every word. The anticipation of learning what happens next builds excitement and connection among listeners. So how can you effectively use the Zeigarnik Effect in your own life? For one, try breaking down tasks into smaller, manageable parts. Rather than viewing a large project as an overwhelming whole, divide it into sections. Each incomplete section serves to remind you of what's coming next, helping maintain focus and motivation. In summary, the Zeigarnik Effect reveals much about our mental processes and how we remain engaged with the world around us. It explains why we linger on unfinished tasks or riveting stories, and why advertisers incorporate unfinished narratives to keep products in our minds. By understanding this effect, you can apply its principles in various areas of life, from enhancing your productivity to improving your creativity. You will find that the incomplete can sometimes be even more powerful than the completed. The bystander effect is a fascinating phenomenon that occurs in social psychology, demonstrating how the presence of others can influence individual action, especially in emergency situations. Picture a crowded street where someone suddenly collapses. Instead of rushing to help, people may just stand by, watching and hesitating. This behavior raises a crucial question. Why do people often fail to intervene when others are present? One of the key reasons behind this behavior is known as diffusion of responsibility. When there are many onlookers, Individuals assume that someone else will take action, believing that their help is not as needed or important. For instance, if a person sees an accident in a busy area, they might think, "Surely someone else will help," leading to a collective inaction. This can create a dangerous scenario where the more people who are present, the less likely any one of them is to take action. A classic experiment illustrating this concept was conducted by social psychologists John Darley and Bibb Latané in the late 1960s. They set up situations where individuals could witness an emergency while other people were present. In one of their experiments, a participant was placed in a room filled with smoke. When they were alone, they quickly reported the smoke to the authorities. However, when other individuals were present, they were much less likely to report the smoke, often waiting to see how others reacted. Moreover, the bystander effect is also influenced by social cues. People often look to the behavior of those around them to decide how to act. If they see others remaining calm and not responding to an emergency, they might interpret this as a sign that the situation is not serious. This phenomenon can be particularly astonishing. For example, during a public emergency, if bystanders do not act, it may falsely signal to others that help is not required, perpetuating the cycle of inaction. This idea stems from the concept of pluralistic ignorance. It occurs when individuals in a group mistake the inaction of others for evidence that there is no real need for help. For instance, at a social event, if one person faints and everyone else remains seated without a reaction, onlookers may conclude that the person is likely just playing around or that the situation doesn't warrant concern. The implications of the bystander effect can be significant. In critical situations, such as a medical emergency, hesitation or inaction can worsen outcomes for the victim. This is especially concerning because we generally expect people to respond to those in distress. A common suggestion is that in emergencies, it is often more effective for individuals to identify a specific person to call for help. This reduces the diffusion of responsibility, as directing a request to an individual makes them more accountable to act. Understanding the bystander effect can also empower us to counteract its influence. Encouraging individuals to take initiative and speak up can help develop a culture of active participation in supporting those in need. This means that if you are ever in a situation where someone requires assistance, try to break the cycle. Instead of waiting for others to intervene, take charge and act accordingly, even if it means calling for support. Real-life stories often illustrate this phenomenon. Consider the case of Kitty Genovese, a young woman who was tragically murdered in New York City in 1964. It was reported that dozens of witnesses heard her cries for help, but did not intervene. This incident sparked significant research and discussion regarding social responsibility and led to an increased awareness of the bystander effect. The bystander effect is not a universally applicable rule, as there are many instances where individuals do step in to help, even when surrounded by others. Emotional connection, personal responsibility, or prior training, such as first aid, can all motivate someone to act decisively. In contrast, feelings of empathy often drive people to assist victims, especially when they can relate to the suffering of others. The degree of empathy felt can be a powerful motivator, encouraging individuals to step forward and offer support. Another example comes from the workplace. Team dynamics can also influence behavior. If an employee sees a coworker struggling with a project but others seem unbothered, the onlooker may choose to remain silent, thinking their assistance is unnecessary. Yet in collaborative environments where members actively encourage one another, individuals are more likely to lend a hand, fostering a sense of community. Building awareness of how the bystander effect operates can create positive change within communities. It teaches us to be more mindful of our surroundings and the implications of our actions. Instead of waiting to see what others will do, it encourages us to examine our role and consider how we can contribute positively to those around us. Initiatives can be introduced to enhance awareness about the importance of individual responsibility in emergencies. In summary, the bystander effect reveals an interesting truth about human behavior. Our inclination to help can be hampered by the presence of others. By understanding this concept, we can reflect on our behaviors, challenge social norms, and work toward creating environments where helping others becomes the collective expectation. Ultimately, being aware of this tendency can empower us to stand up and act, rather than waiting for someone else to step into that vital role. Cognitive dissonance is a fascinating psychological phenomenon that occurs when a person holds two or more contradictory beliefs, values, or ideas at the same time. This mental conflict can make us feel uncomfortable, prompting us to seek a resolution. The concept, introduced by psychologist Leon Festinger in the 1950s, has been widely studied in the realms of decision-making, behavior change, and personal growth. Imagine you love to eat chocolate cake, but you also believe that eating sweets is unhealthy. This inconsistency between your enjoyment of the cake and your health beliefs creates cognitive dissonance. The conflict often leads to feelings of unease or tension. To alleviate this discomfort, people typically engage in rationalization. They may convince themselves that one slice of cake won't hurt their diet, or that enjoying dessert is part of a balanced approach to life. In this way, they find a way to reconcile their conflicting beliefs. Cognitive dissonance isn't limited to personal preferences. It also plays a significant role in shaping our values and decisions. A classic example can be found in the smoking debate. A smoker may be aware of the health risks associated with smoking, yet continue the habit. This conflicting knowledge generates dissonance, leading the smoker to justify their actions. They might downplay the risks, claim that they know people who smoke for decades without serious health issues, or argue that quitting is too difficult. These rationalizations help to reduce the tension caused by the conflict between their awareness of the dangers of smoking and their continued behavior. This phenomenon extends beyond the individual to larger social scenarios. For instance, leaders or organizations sometimes find themselves in situations that reveal dissonance between stated values and actions taken. A company that prides itself on environmental responsibility but continues to engage in harmful practices may create cognitive dissonance among its employees and customers. People are likely to feel torn between their support for the company's mission and the negative implications of its actions. In such cases, individuals might justify their ongoing support by telling themselves that the company is working towards improvement or that their contribution as consumers is important. Cognitive dissonance can also provide insight into how we make decisions. When faced with choices, especially significant ones, we often must weigh the benefits and drawbacks of each option. Once a decision is made, it is common to experience the discomfort of dissonance. For instance, if someone chooses to buy an expensive car, they may initially feel excited. However, as reality sets in, financial worries might creep in, creating tension between their desire for luxury and the practical consideration of their budget. To resolve this, they may focus on the car's superior safety features or the status it brings, convincing themselves that the purchase was wise, despite the potential financial strain. Interestingly, the aftermath of decision-making often requires us to reinforce our choices. This is known as the post-decision dissonance effect. After buying a product or choosing a partner, individuals frequently seek information that confirms their choice while dismissing information that contradicts it. This behavior isn't limited to trivial decisions. It can influence major life choices such as marriage, career changes, or relocation. When we invest in a decision, our desire to affirm its correctness can lead to a biased search for validation. In the realm of education and personal development, cognitive dissonance can also be a powerful catalyst for change. Learning new information that conflicts with previously held beliefs can prompt individuals to reassess their understanding and, hopefully, shift their viewpoints. For example, a person who has long believed that success is solely due to individual effort may encounter research demonstrating the role of systemic inequality. This new perspective can create internal conflict, motivating them to explore the complexities of success and privilege, ultimately leading to growth and a broader understanding of the world. In everyday life, cognitive dissonance is common when we try to align our actions with our values. For instance, consider someone who values honesty, but finds themselves in a situation where telling a lie seems easier. The discomfort faced during this internal struggle can lead to a decision to confront the truth, leading to personal growth and integrity. Alternatively, it may lead to further rationalizations to justify the dishonesty, such as believing that the lie protects someone's feelings. Cognitive dissonance reminds us of the intricacies of human behavior and the lengths we go to maintain a sense of harmony within ourselves. This phenomenon encourages introspection, inviting us to explore the beliefs we hold and the reasons behind our choices. In understanding cognitive dissonance, we gain valuable insights into our motivations and the psychological processes that drive us as we navigate our beliefs and actions. As we better understand our own cognitive dissonance, we can learn to become more aware of when we may be providing ourselves with excuses or rationalizations. Recognizing the discomfort associated with conflicting beliefs can prompt us to engage more deeply with our values and choices. This awareness can ultimately lead to a more authentic and fulfilled life. So the next time you feel that tug-of-war within your mind, remember that this is a natural part of being human. Embrace it as an opportunity for understanding and growth, reminding yourself that even the most complex contradictions can lead to clarity if we allow ourselves to explore them. Have you ever noticed that when you hear something repeatedly, it begins to feel more familiar and trustable, regardless of its accuracy? This phenomenon is known as the Illusory Truth Effect. It's a fascinating cognitive bias that shows how our brains process information and how exposure can shape our beliefs. Imagine you are watching the news and hear a particular statement about a recent event. At first, you might be skeptical or even dismissive. But as the same claim appears in different news outlets, social media posts, or conversations with friends, it starts to feel more familiar. This familiarity can create a false sense of confidence in the statement's truthfulness. Our brains tend to equate familiarity with truth, which can lead us to believe something simply because we have encountered it multiple times. Consider an example involving a public figure. If a rumor circulates about a celebrity, we might initially question its validity. However, as we see it repeated across multiple platforms, whether in news articles, blog posts, or tweets, we may unconsciously start to accept it as fact. The more we hear it, the more legitimate it seems. This is the illusory truth effect at work. But it doesn't just apply to major news stories or celebrity gossip. It influences many aspects of our lives, including political opinions, health claims, and even advertising. Think about a catchy slogan from an advertisement. When we hear it over and over again, we start associating the product with positive feelings, whether or not the claims made are true. The repetition gives it an air of legitimacy that can manipulate our choices. Research has shown that when individuals are presented with statements that vary in their factual accuracy, those that are repeated are often rated as more true than those heard only once. This happens regardless of the actual truth behind the statements. In laboratory settings, participants are often asked to assess various claims or statements after hearing them multiple times. The pattern is consistent. Familiarity enhances perceived truth. This effect is not just limited to individuals. It impacts communities and societies as a whole. Misinformation can spread rampantly, especially in our digital age, where information is shared and recycled at unprecedented rates. In social media, a false claim can go viral, and as it circulates, it gains an unwarranted sense of credibility. Individuals may share and endorse the misinformation simply because they have seen it so many times that it feels trustworthy. One practical illustration of this might be a health-related myth. For example, if someone claims that a specific food is bad for you, and this assertion is heard repeatedly on various platforms, even without credible scientific backing, people might begin to accept this statement as truth. This can lead to harmful dietary changes or misunderstandings about health practices due to the power of repetition. The illusory truth effect also has implications for education and information dissemination. When students learn facts or concepts, their retention is often improved through repetition. However, if the repeated information is incorrect or misleading, it can become embedded in their understanding. This is especially concerning when the repetition is unintentional, such as through poorly fact-checked textbooks or misleading classroom discussions. Understanding the illusory truth effect can help individuals become more critical consumers of information. Being aware that repetition can warp our perceptions of truth encourages us to seek diverse sources and check the validity of claims rather than accepting them based solely on familiarity. It invites us to pause and evaluate the information critically before drawing conclusions. In the age of information overload, it is vital to develop tools that promote informed decision-making. By recognizing the cognitive biases that shape our judgments, we can strive to combat the spread of misinformation. We can remind ourselves that just because something is repeated does not make it true. Engaging thoughtfully with information, asking questions, and verifying claims are essential steps in navigating discussions in our contemporary world. This cognitive phenomenon highlights the importance of media literacy and critical thinking. Teaching ourselves and others about the illusory truth effect can empower us to engage with the information landscape more effectively. We can advocate for responsible communication practices in our communities, and we can support efforts that prioritize accuracy and transparency in the information we consume. In conclusion, the illusory truth effect serves as a compelling reminder of how susceptible we can be to the influence of repetition. It emphasizes the need for vigilance in our information consumption and encourages us to challenge assumptions based on familiarity. By fostering a culture of thoughtful inquiry and skepticism, we can better navigate the complexities of information in our daily lives, fostering a deeper understanding of truth and its nuances. The Dunning-Kruger Effect is a fascinating psychological phenomenon that highlights the disconnect between someone's actual ability and their self-perception of that ability. This effect often manifests in various settings, particularly in the workplace, where individuals with lower levels of competence in a particular area tend to overestimate their own skills. To better understand this effect, let's break it down with relatable examples from everyday life and workplace dynamics. Imagine a person who has just taken on a new role in a marketing team. They are excited and confident, believing they have a strong grasp of digital marketing strategies. However, this individual has only a basic understanding of the concepts involved. They might look at their past successes, perhaps leading a small project that went well, and convince themselves that they possess a level of expertise akin to a seasoned professional. This inflated self-assessment can lead them to dismiss the advice of more experienced colleagues, which can create tension and frustrations within their team. In many cases, individuals exhibiting the Dunning-Kruger effect are unable to recognize the extent of their limitations. They might approach tasks with a sense of confidence that seems unwarranted, often leading to mistakes that could have been avoided with a bit of humility and an openness to learning. For example, in a group discussion about a complex project, a novice might dominate the conversation, sharing opinions and suggestions that reflect a misunderstanding of the core issues. Their lack of awareness can stifle contributions from more knowledgeable team members, ultimately hindering the growth and progress of the project. This dynamic is not unique to one environment. It appears across various professions and industries. In the world of technology, there are many who enthusiastically dive into discussions about coding or software development without any formal training. They might create simple applications and gain a bit of attention for their efforts. However, when faced with more complicated programming challenges, they may struggle and get frustrated, all while believing they can tackle any tech issue that arises. This scenario underscores the reality that confidence does not always equate to competence. A study by David Dunning and Justin Kruger found that individuals with limited skills in an area often lack the ability to accurately assess their own abilities. The less someone knows, the more likely they are to overrate themselves. Conversely, those who are genuinely skilled tend to have a more realistic understanding of their limitations. Skilled professionals are often more reflective about their capabilities, aware of the complexities and challenges involved in their field. The Dunning-Kruger effect can also lead to a morale problem within teams. When someone who lacks knowledge is overly confident, it can create frustration among their peers who may feel their expertise is being overlooked. This disconnect can cause disruption in team dynamics, as more knowledgeable individuals start to disengage from discussions or share their ideas less frequently. It's essential for workplaces to foster an environment where everyone feels valued and where expertise is recognized, thus minimizing the impact of this phenomenon. Encouraging a culture of open feedback and continuous learning is vital in combating the Dunning-Kruger effect. Organizations should promote discussions that allow for inquisitive questioning and constructive criticism. By regularly incorporating training and development opportunities, employees can build their skills while also learning to assess their abilities more accurately. Mentorship programs can also play a significant role, allowing less experienced employees to see the value in learning from their more knowledgeable colleagues. As you take a moment to reflect, consider how this effect might manifest in your interactions and work environment. Are there times when you felt overly confident in a particular area? Perhaps you've witnessed a colleague exhibit this behavior. Recognizing the Dunning-Kruger effect in yourself and others is a step towards fostering a more inclusive and collaborative workspace. Moreover, acknowledging personal limitations can be empowering. It opens the door to professional growth and encourages conversations that might initially feel uncomfortable. For instance, admitting that you don't understand a particular concept can lead to fruitful discussions, where team members band together to share knowledge, resources, and insights. These interactions can foster collaboration and innovation, allowing the team to achieve collective success much greater than any individual effort. In summary, the Dunning-Kruger effect serves as a compelling reminder that self-perception does not always align with reality. Recognizing this can help create a more supportive and effective work environment. By embracing humility, encouraging open dialogue, and valuing the learning process, teams can navigate the challenges posed by overconfidence and ultimately thrive together, leveraging the unique strengths of each member. Remember, knowledge is a journey, and recognizing where you are on that journey can empower personal and professional growth far beyond what one might expect. Have you ever found yourself standing in front of a shelf full of snacks, completely unsure of which one to pick? You might have experienced what's called choice overload. This phenomenon occurs when we are faced with so many options that the very act of making a decision becomes overwhelming. Instead of feeling empowered by the variety available, we often feel paralyzed, unable to choose anything at all. Imagine walking into an ice cream parlor with over 20 different flavors. There are classics like vanilla and chocolate, exciting combinations like mint chocolate chip, and even more adventurous options like lavender honey. At first, it sounds delightful to have so many choices, but once you start weighing the pros and cons of each flavor, it can quickly become a headache. You may find yourself second-guessing your preferences or worrying about what others might think of your choice. In the end, you might leave the shop empty-handed or make a hurried selection that you regret. This is not just limited to ice cream flavors. Take shopping for a new laptop, for instance. You walk into an electronics store and see dozens of models, each with different specifications, colors, and price points. You want something reliable, affordable, and capable of handling your needs, but how do you sift through all these options? One moment you're excited about the possibilities, and the next, you feel overwhelmed by the sheer number of choices. Studies have shown that when consumers are presented with too many options, they often experience anxiety and uncertainty. This can lead to a cycle of indecision where, instead of making a choice, they might opt for inaction, which can impact their spending behavior. Interestingly, this decision paralysis doesn't just occur in situations that seem trivial. It can also affect important life decisions, like choosing a career path or making significant investments. In a world designed to offer us endless options, it's worth exploring why having too many choices can be counterproductive. One major reason is the increase in expectations. When faced with numerous options, we may become convinced that we should find the absolute best choice. For instance, if you're choosing a new smartphone from a selection of over 30 different models, the weight of needing to select the perfect one can become emotionally taxing. You may spend hours researching and comparing features, only to find yourself more confused than ever. This pressure to find the ideal option can lead us to second-guess ourselves. We might feel regret after making a choice, worrying that another option could have been better. This regret can linger, making future decisions feel even more burdensome as we start to fear making the wrong choice again. Consequently, consumers might gravitate towards simplifying their decision-making process, favoring brands or products they already know, instead of exploring new possibilities. Marketing strategies have had to adapt to this phenomenon. Some brands have begun to limit their offerings or present a curated selection to help ease consumer anxiety. For example, you might notice that certain coffee shops focus on a smaller variety of high-quality beverages, rather than an exhaustive menu. By streamlining options, they aim to enhance customer satisfaction and encourage people to make quicker decisions. Another interesting aspect of choice overload is the role of emotion in decision-making. Emotions can significantly influence how we approach options. A positive mood can lead to a more enthusiastic exploration of choices, while stress can exacerbate feelings of overwhelm. This emotional landscape adds another layer of complexity to our decision-making processes and ultimately shapes our purchasing behaviors. Further, the paradox of choice reveals that even when we have the ability to make more choices, it does not always lead to greater happiness. Maximizers, people who strive to make the best possible decision, often find themselves less satisfied than those who are satisfied with good enough choices. In the face of too many options, maximizers may continually search for a better choice and end up feeling disappointed. So, what can we learn from all this? Being aware of choice overload is the first step in managing it. When faced with a decision, try narrowing down your options by setting criteria that are important to you. Rather than browsing an endless list of products or flavors, focus on what truly matters, whether it's price, quality, or even personal preferences. Another helpful approach is to create limits for your choices. Instead of scrolling through hundreds of shows on a streaming platform, commit to watching one of the top 3 recommendations. By setting boundaries, you can free yourself from the stress of exploring every single option available. Sometimes, simplicity can lead to a more enjoyable experience. In conclusion, choice overload is a pertinent aspect of our modern consumer landscape. It reminds us that more is not always better. By being mindful of how many options we face and learning strategies to manage our choices, we can make the decision-making process much more streamlined and enjoyable. As you navigate through your choices, remember that finding satisfaction in simplicity can lead to a more gratifying experience. The Barnum Effect is a fascinating psychological phenomenon that explains why many people believe in vague or general statements that seem tailored specifically to them. This intriguing effect gets its name from P.T. Barnum, a showman known for his ability to attract crowds with sensational acts, as well as his famous quote about having a special kind of a person born every minute. While Barnum may have meant it to showcase the spectacle of his shows, we now use his name to describe a captivating aspect of human perception. Imagine opening a newspaper and reading your horoscope for the day. You come across a prediction that suggests you may encounter a challenging situation at work. Despite the fact that this prediction could apply to any number of people, you nod your head in agreement because it feels relevant to you. The Barnum Effect helps explain this reaction. In general, we all desire validation and connection to the ideas presented to us. The vague, blanket statements used in horoscopes, personality tests, or psychic readings play right into this need, leading people to feel a sense of personal significance where none may truly exist. Let's explore a popular example related to personality. You might take a personality test that claims to analyze your traits and preferences. You receive a description that states you are often outgoing, but sometimes you enjoy solitary time. Furthermore, it highlights that you have a tendency to be critical, but also have an empathetic side. While this description seems to encompass both extroverted and introverted traits, it could easily apply to a vast majority of people. Nonetheless, countless individuals resonate with these general points because they often hold some truth in their personal experiences. This is the crux of the Barnum Effect. Another notable context for the Barnum Effect is seen in psychic readings. When a psychic tells you that you have experienced loss in your life, it is not so surprising that many listeners can connect with this notion. Loss is a universal human experience, a shared journey that many can identify with at some level. The psychic statement uses sufficiently broad terms that allow room for personal interpretation, making it feel unique to the individual receiving the reading. The Barnum Effect can also be observed in feedback from friends or colleagues. Imagine a situation in which someone compliments your kindness, but suggests that at times you can be somewhat reserved. Many people take such feedback to heart, interpreting it as a deep understanding of their character. However, kindness and a touch of reserve can apply to nearly anyone, but the personal connection to the feedback makes it resonate powerfully. In addition to horoscopes and psychic readings, the Barnum Effect has infiltrated various aspects of popular culture, including social media posts that claim to revealing insights based on your favorite color or the month of your birth. These brief, seemingly insightful statements are often cleverly designed to ensure that a wide array of readers feels they are being directly addressed. The undeniable charm of these messages lies in their ability to flatter us and affirm common yet positive traits, appealing to our desire for connection and understanding. The effect is further compounded through a technique known as confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is the tendency for individuals to seek, interpret, and remember information in a way that confirms their pre-existing beliefs. So when presented with a broad statement that resonates with them, they may be more inclined to focus on specific elements that validate their self-image, dismissing any parts that do not align with their view of themselves. An interesting study conducted in the 1940s demonstrated this effect brilliantly. Researchers provided personality assessments to college students who received vague descriptions about their personalities that could apply to nearly anyone. The students were then asked to rate the accuracy of these statements on a scale of 1 to 5. To their astonishment, many of them rated the accuracy as exceedingly high, often around 4 or 5. When the researchers revealed that all students had received identical descriptions, the students were taken aback. The power of vague assertions was on full display. The Barnum Effect serves as a reminder of our innate desire for meaning and connection. It highlights how easily our minds can fill in the gaps with subjective interpretations that reinforce our self-perception. It urges us to reflect on how we process information and interact with the world around us. In a world filled with diverse experiences, the capacity to find personal relevance in seemingly generic statements is a testament to the human mind's extraordinary ability to forge connections, even in the most unlikely places. So the next time you come across a statement that strikes a chord, consider the possibility that it speaks not just to you, but to a broader audience, reminding you that you're not alone in your journey. The Barnum Effect showcases the delightful unpredictability of our thoughts and emotions while shedding light on the subtleties of our interconnectedness. Imagine a world where every question you ask leads to an expert dropping an avalanche of information onto you. You may have experienced this during classes, workshops, or even casual conversations. This phenomenon has a name: the curse of knowledge. It refers to the difficulty that experts often face when they forget what it was like to not know something. Their extensive understanding leads them to assume that everyone else has the same level of familiarity with the subject, creating a barrier to effective communication and learning. Picture a professor who has spent years studying quantum physics. To them, the intricacies of subatomic particles are second nature. However, when they try to explain quantum jumps or wave-particle duality to someone without a background in physics, they often use jargon that sounds foreign and confusing. They might skip over foundational concepts, assuming that those listening understand the basic principles. As a result, learners can feel lost and overwhelmed, ultimately hindering their understanding. This isn't unique to academia. Think about professionals in various fields: doctors, engineers, chefs, or software developers. They might share their expertise with great enthusiasm, peppering their explanations with technical language or specific industry terms. A seasoned chef may casually discuss sous vide techniques or molecular gastronomy, while a software engineer might dive straight into the depths of algorithms. For someone unfamiliar with these concepts, it can feel like trying to decipher a foreign language. Miscommunication occurs not out of malice, but rather because these experts forget that their audience may not have the same knowledge base. The curse of knowledge can also surface in writing. Authors with a profound understanding of their subjects sometimes produce content that is dense and laden with complex terminology. Readers may struggle to grasp the main ideas, feeling inadequate or frustrated. It becomes a challenge to communicate effectively when the language used feels exclusive. The point of sharing knowledge is to inform and inspire, but if the delivery alienates those who need the information most, it's a missed opportunity. To counter this challenge, educators and communicators need to adopt a different mindset. They must step into the shoes of their audience. This begins by understanding that everyone comes from different backgrounds and experiences. A good practice is to explain concepts using simple language and relatable analogies. Instead of diving into the complicated world of advanced mathematics right away, a teacher might compare an equation to everyday situations, like budgeting or shopping. By relating complex ideas to familiar experiences, learners can make connections, paving the way for better comprehension. Furthermore, incorporating storytelling can be a powerful method to bridge gaps in understanding. Narratives engage listeners and help them visualize concepts. For example, discussing the life cycle of a butterfly not only informs about biology, but also captivates the imagination. Visual elements of transformation, struggle, and beauty can turn a seemingly dry subject into a rich and engaging experience. When complex ideas are framed within a story, they can become more accessible and memorable. Another strategy is to encourage questions. Creating an environment where curiosity is welcomed can be transformative. Many who listen might hesitate to ask for clarification out of fear that their questions might seem naive. However, encouraging dialogue fosters understanding. Experts can invite feedback by regularly checking in with their audience, asking if they need further explanation. This approach not only empowers the listeners, but also educates the speakers about areas that may need more clarity. In addition, experts can utilize various teaching tools, such as diagrams, videos, or hands-on activities. Visual aids can break down complex information into digestible chunks. A well-placed infographic can illuminate statistical data, while a short video can demonstrate a concept in action. Engaging multiple senses enhances retention and makes learning more interactive. Feedback is equally important. Experts should seek input about their communication style. Understanding the audience's perspective provides invaluable insights into whether their message is being received as intended. Constructive criticism can help refine their approach, making future interactions smoother and more effective. Moreover, practicing humility goes a long way. Accepting that no one knows everything helps dismantle the barriers created by the curse of knowledge. By acknowledging the vastness of knowledge, experts can maintain an open mind and recognize the importance of each person's learning journey. Instead of positioning themselves as infallible instructors, they can view themselves as fellow travelers on the road to understanding. Lastly, fostering a growth mindset among learners can mitigate the effects of the curse of knowledge. When individuals believe that their abilities can improve through effort and practice, They approach learning with enthusiasm and resilience. This climate allows for making mistakes without fear, turning errors into valuable lessons. Adopting this philosophy enhances the overall learning experience, encouraging mastery over time rather than expecting immediate comprehension. In summary, while the curse of knowledge poses challenges in teaching and communication, there are numerous strategies to address it. By empathizing with the audience, simplifying language, sharing stories, fostering dialogue, utilizing visual aids, and practicing humility, experts can bridge the gap between their knowledge and that of others. The pursuit of understanding is a shared journey, most rewarding when all participants feel engaged, respected, and empowered to learn. Let knowledge flow freely, and with every drop, open doors to new realms of understanding. Imagine you are in a bustling marketplace, surrounded by vibrant colors, enticing aromas, and the lively chatter of vendors. You approach two stalls selling the same type of fruit, peaches. One stall has a sign that boasts, 90% of these peaches are fresh and juicy. The other stall, however, reads, 10% of these peaches are overripe and not worth your time. Your reaction might be influenced by the way the information is presented, even though both stalls are sharing the same essential fact. This phenomenon is known as the framing effect, a powerful psychological principle that highlights how the presentation of information can significantly alter our perceptions and decision-making processes. The framing effect is particularly evident in political and media communication, where the way information is communicated can steer public opinion. For example, during election campaigns, politicians often frame their policies in a light that will make them most appealing to voters. A proposal for a new tax might be presented as an investment in community services, which suggests it will provide benefits to everyone. In contrast, the same proposal can be framed as a financial burden, which may lead to resistance among voters. Research shows that people often respond differently based on how information is framed. In one study, participants who were told that a program had a 70% success rate felt more positively about it than those who learned about a similar program with a 30% failure rate, despite both statements communicating the same outcome. This demonstrates how our emotions can be manipulated simply by rewording the same information. Moreover, the framing effect extends beyond just politics and into the broader realm of media communication. News articles frequently use specific language that can influence public perception of events. When a news report discusses a protest as a quote, violent clash, this leads readers to envision chaos and danger. However, if the same incident is reported as a quote, peaceful demonstration, it evokes a sense of unity and purpose. The choice of words, images, and even the sequence in which information is presented can shape narratives and impact how events are understood. Take, for example, health-related reporting. A study detailing the benefits of a new medication might characterize it as an opportunity for improved quality of life, encouraging patients to embrace its use. Conversely, if it is framed as a possible risk for serious side effects, potential users might feel apprehensive and avoid it altogether. The framing effect played a significant role in shaping attitudes toward public health measures during the pandemic. Different media outlets emphasized various aspects of the guidelines, some focusing on community safety and others on individual freedoms, leading to varying public responses. In advertising, companies often harness the framing effect to create appealing narratives that encourage consumers to associate positive feelings with their products. A car commercial may choose to highlight safety features and eco-friendliness, framing the purchase as a responsible choice for families. Alternatively, if the same model is marketed primarily for its speed and luxury, it may create a different image, appealing to those prioritizing adventure and status. Interestingly, framing also touches on deeper psychological mechanisms, like loss aversion, where individuals react more strongly to losses than gains. When a financial advisor presents an investment as having a, quote, 30% chance of losing money, clients may react more negatively than if it is framed as a, quote, 70% chance of making a profit. This realization illustrates how a simple shift in language can amplify fear or comfort, ultimately guiding our decisions. The framing effect can also play a significant role in interpersonal communications. Ever noticed how a friend can seem more endearing if you hear a story highlighting their good deeds? The way we present information about others can dramatically impact how they are perceived by our peers. A person described as always helping those in need is likely to elicit a more positive response than if that person is presented as often sacrificing their own time for others. Additionally, the framing effect can be a tool for enhancing storytelling. When narrating a story, the perspective we choose to emphasize can shape the listener's emotional experience. For example, a story about overcoming adversity can be narrated in a way that highlights hardships, making the triumph at the end feel even more significant. Alternatively, if the focus is on the triumph from the start, the audience might miss out on the depth that struggle can bring. Understanding the framing effect equips us to navigate and analyze the information we encounter daily. Becoming aware of how words and narratives shape our perceptions allows us to engage more critically with the world around us. When consuming media, whether news articles, advertisements, or social media posts, it is essential to consider how the information is framed and what emotions it might provoke. In conclusion, the framing effect illustrates the intricate ways in which the presentation of information influences our thoughts, feelings, and decisions. From political discourse to personal interactions, how we frame our messages can illuminate or obscure the truth, shaping perceptions in ways we might not even recognize. By approaching information critically and understanding the power of framing, we can become more discerning consumers of ideas and narratives, ultimately fostering clear communication and more informed decisions. As you reflect on this, consider how the way you frame your thoughts and ideas can alter not only your perceptions, but those of the people around you as well. This awareness opens up a world of possibilities for meaningful dialogue and connection. The IKEA effect is a fascinating psychological phenomenon that reveals how people tend to place a higher value on products they have had a hand in creating or assembling. Originating from the name of the famous Swedish furniture retailer IKEA, this effect highlights a unique twist in consumer behavior. Imagine spending an afternoon putting together a flat-pack bookshelf. You meticulously follow the instructions, each screw and plank coming together under your own effort. Once completed, that shelf doesn't just become a piece of furniture, it transforms into a symbol of your hard work. Research has shown that individuals often overvalue items they have built, even if the end product is of lower quality than a professionally assembled alternative. In a study conducted by Daniel Mochon, a behavioral scientist at Yale University, participants were shown various products, some of which they assembled themselves. Those who engaged in assembling their items assigned a significantly higher value to these items compared to those who simply received similar products pre-assembled. This bias illustrates how our engagement in creating something can enhance our emotional attachment to the object. Let's take a closer look at how this effect can be seen in everyday situations. Think about custom-built computers. When someone chooses their components and assembles a machine themselves, they often regard it as superior to a pre-built model, regardless of performance specifications. It is not just about the functionality, it is about the investment of time and effort. This feeling of ownership leads to a personal connection, empowering individuals with a sense of accomplishment. You can also notice this effect in the world of crafts and DIY projects. When someone decorates their living space with handmade decorations or repurposed furniture, those items often hold more significance than similar store-bought versions. For example, a hand-painted vase or a reclaimed wood table yields a story and an emotional bond that mass-produced items typically lack. Each piece carries memories, moments of creativity, and labor, making it invaluable to its owner. This phenomenon also plays a significant role in customizable product marketing. Brands capitalize on the IKEA effect by offering products that require some level of personalization or assembly. For instance, consider companies that sell customizable sneakers. Customers can choose colors, patterns, and materials, resulting in a product that feels uniquely theirs. As a result, customers may be willing to spend more on these shoes knowing they played a role in designing something exclusive. The customization process increases their attachment and encourages them to advocate for the brand, reinforcing loyalty. Now, let's explore how the IKEA effect can influence our decision-making as consumers. When faced with numerous options, we often gravitate towards products we can personalize. This can be seen in the rise of subscription services, where users can select their preferred items, like beauty products or meal kits. By actively engaging in the selection process, individuals become more invested in the outcome, leading to higher satisfaction and a commitment to the product. The IKEA effect also relates to how we perceive effort. If someone works hard to create or personalize something, they are likely to believe it is of higher quality than existing alternatives. This concept can also extend to relationships and experiences. For instance, if you organize a family gathering, you might hold that event in higher regard than similar outings that were planned by someone else. The effort you put into arranging every detail contributes to how you evaluate the experience. However, there are some intriguing implications of the IKEA effect in our lives. On the one hand, this phenomenon can lead us to appreciate and cherish our creations. On the other, it can blind us to flaws or shortcomings. People might overlook the practicality of a furniture piece they lovingly assembled, choosing to focus solely on their effort and attachment rather than its functionality or suitability. Thus, while the IKEA effect prompts us to celebrate our involvement, it may also lead to less rational decisions based on emotion. Understanding the IKEA effect can provide insight into our purchasing behaviors and emotional investments. It's a reminder of the power of participation in the creation process, whether that involves assembling furniture, curating a collection, or designing personalized products. Recognizing this effect can enhance our awareness while shopping and help us appreciate the value of our own contributions. The beauty of the IKEA effect lies in how it illustrates our need for connection and ownership. In every project we take on, every creative endeavor, we are not simply creating objects. We are crafting experiences imbued with personal significance. As we navigate choices and interactions in daily life, the IKEA effect serves as a reminder of how our efforts enrich our environments and ourselves. Through this lens, we can find value not just in the products we own, but also in the creative processes that lead us to them. Imagine walking into a room where the walls are painted in a deep, rich navy blue. The color is striking and bold, creating a feeling of comfort and calm. Now, picture the same room, but the walls are a bright, vibrant yellow instead. What a different atmosphere! This change in color can greatly influence how you feel in each space. This phenomenon is known as the contrast effect, where your perceptions and judgments are influenced by what you experience immediately before or along with it. The contrast effect plays a significant role in decision-making and perception in various aspects of everyday life. For example, consider the world of marketing. Advertisers often use contrast effectively to make their products stand out. If you are presented with a plain old coffee mug, and right next to it is a sleek and modern design in a bright color, your appreciation for the modern mug might increase simply because it stands out against a more mundane option. This comparison can deepen your desire for the specific product because it appears more appealing when contrasted with something less attractive. Similarly, when considering a restaurant menu, think about how descriptions are framed. If you first read about a dish that sounds extravagant and delightful, followed closely by a simpler item, say a basic salad, the latter might seem rather dull in comparison. Conversely, if the menu starts with the salad and then presents a gourmet entree, your anticipation for the entree heightens as the contrast highlights its appeal. Your mind is naturally inclined to compare and judge based on what came before, making the scenario much richer through the lens of contrast. This concept extends beyond shopping and dining into realms like education and experiences. For instance, if you spend a significant amount of time in a less stimulating environment, when you finally encounter something vibrant and dynamic, it may feel like an overwhelming burst of excitement. This response can significantly shape how you perceive and value experiences. Social situations also heavily rely on this effect. Imagine attending a party where the first few people you meet are rather reserved and quiet. Later on, if you encounter someone who is lively and engaging, that person may strike you as particularly charming and entertaining, purely based on the contrast to the earlier interactions. Your evaluation of their personality is influenced by the immediate social context in which they appeared. The contrast effect can even affect how we gauge our own abilities or performance. If you receive feedback on a challenging task that is compared to a much easier one, your perception of your skills may fluctuate. For instance, if you complete a complex project and later evaluate your performance by comparing it to a more straightforward task, the latter might make your earlier success seem more significant and impressive. Conversely, in a different context, if you were to compare that same project to an even more advanced one, you might feel less accomplished, demonstrating how context composes our self-assessment. The contrast effect is prevalent in the world of beauty and fashion too. Think about how certain colors or styles can be highlighted by what they're paired with. A vibrant dress can catch your attention more when seen next to neutral color clothing. This visual contrast not only draws the eye, but emphasizes the qualities of the clothing itself, making the chosen attire appear even more appealing. In everyday life, this principle proves influential in various scenarios, including home decoration. If you have a red couch in your living room, its impact may differ based on the colors of the surrounding walls and decor. Placing the red couch against a gray wall may amplify its boldness, while placing it next to another vivid color could make it blend in, diminishing its striking appeal. Even in the realm of sports, during a game, the performance of a player may be judged based on the opponent or the game prior. If a team is playing against a top rival, their skill may be perceived as higher, despite possibly performing the same way against a less formidable opponent. The surrounding context influences judgments of performance and intensity. In conclusion, the contrast effect is a powerful lens through which we interpret the world around us. Whether evaluating products, experiences, social interactions, or ourselves, this phenomenon molds our perceptions with a subtle yet pervasive influence. As we navigate our daily lives, being aware of this effect might just help us understand not only how we perceive the world, but also why we make the choices we do. It's a reminder that context matters, and every comparison adds a layer of richness to our understanding, transforming simple experiences into a dynamic exploration of perception and value. The Pygmalion Effect, a fascinating psychological phenomenon, explores how our expectations of others can significantly influence their performance. This concept derives its name from the Greek myth of Pygmalion, who crafted a beautiful statue that he fell in love with. In a twist of fate, his love and belief in the statue brought it to life. Similarly, when leaders and managers maintain high expectations of their team members, it can lead to exceptional outcomes. Imagine a classroom setting where a teacher believes a particular student has great potential. The teacher may provide more attention, encouragement, and challenging assignments to this student. As a result, the student feels more confident, motivated, and ultimately performs better. This scenario exemplifies how positive expectations can cultivate a nurturing environment that promotes growth and excellence. In a corporate context, the Pygmalion Effect is equally notable. Leaders with high expectations encourage their teams to rise to the occasion. Picture a scenario where a manager sees potential in a junior employee. By regularly conveying their belief in this employee's abilities and supporting them through challenges, the manager fosters an atmosphere of trust and encouragement. This can inspire the employee to take on new responsibilities, innovate, and contribute to the team's success. On the other hand, if a manager holds low expectations, the employee may receive less attention and support, leading to underperformance and disengagement. Research shows that the Pygmalion Effect is not limited to individual interactions. It can also create a ripple effect within teams and organizations. When high expectations are shared collectively, team members feel empowered and motivated to push their limits. For instance, a team working on an ambitious project may thrive when its leader communicates a strong belief in their capacity to achieve remarkable results. This unified excitement can enhance collaboration, creativity, and ultimately lead to superior outcomes. However, it is crucial to understand that expectations must be genuinely grounded in the individual's potential. Unrealistic expectations can lead to anxiety and feelings of inadequacy. Therefore, it is vital for leaders to balance their aspirations with an understanding of each team member's unique capabilities. Encouraging an open dialogue can help leaders provide the right amount of support, ensuring that expectations are both challenging and attainable. The Pygmalion Effect also ties into the importance of feedback. When leaders provide constructive feedback rooted in their expectations, it helps individuals understand how they can improve and grow. This feedback loop reinforces the belief that they can succeed, motivating them further. Consider how athletes respond to coaches who express unwavering belief in their potential. This encouragement often drives them to excel in competitions and continuously improve their skills. Moreover, the Pygmalion Effect can have profound implications for organizational culture. A workplace that thrives on high expectations encourages innovation and risk-taking. Employees feel comfortable proposing bold ideas and experimenting, knowing that their leadership believes in them. This kind of atmosphere can set a powerful precedent for continuous improvement and adaptation, allowing organizations to remain competitive and responsive to changes. On the flip side, low expectations can create a toxic environment where employees feel undervalued and disengaged. If leaders do not communicate belief in their team's capabilities, it can lead to a culture of mediocrity. Employees may become apathetic and less willing to invest effort into their work. As a leader, being aware of the language used, the tone adopted, and the general attitude towards team members can significantly dictate the team's morale and productivity. To exemplify, consider the entertainment industry, where directors often hold high expectations for their actors. The belief that an actor can deliver a stellar performance can be transformative. Actors immerse themselves in their roles, aiming to meet the expectations set for them. This dynamic not only enhances individual performances, but also elevates the project's overall quality. In summary, the Pygmalion Effect serves as a powerful reminder of the influence our expectations can have on others. Leaders and managers who consciously nurture high expectations foster an environment conducive to growth and success. With the right balance of belief, support, and constructive feedback, those in leadership positions can motivate their teams to reach new heights, pushing the boundaries of what they can achieve. By recognizing the impact of our expectations, we can cultivate a culture that inspires creativity, teamwork, and unparalleled performance. Embracing the Pygmalion Effect leads to a more engaged and fulfilled workforce, ultimately benefiting not just individuals, but the entire organization. As we explore the mechanisms of human potential, let us remember that belief, when coupled with support, can truly unleash remarkable results. In today's fast-paced digital world, a feeling known as FOMO, or the fear of missing out, has become all too common. This anxiety stems from the concern that others are experiencing something more rewarding, fulfilling, or exciting, and that you might be left on the sidelines. It is a phenomenon that many people grapple with, particularly in the age of social media, where our feeds are filled with images of friends enjoying events, vacations, or special moments. Imagine scrolling through your social media feed on a quiet evening. You see countless posts of friends at a concert, laughing at a party, or sharing a meal at a trendy restaurant. Each photo or video seems to capture a memory that you wish to be a part of, intensifying feelings of longing and envy. The visual display of joy and excitement can evoke an overwhelming sense that your own life may not be as vibrant. The familiar thought creeps in, what am I missing out on? FOMO can manifest in various ways. For some, it may trigger the anxiety of not being included in social gatherings or exclusive events. You might find yourself glued to your device, constantly refreshing your notifications, hoping for an invitation or an update that might ease your worries. For others, it leads to the urge to act impulsively, even if that means attending an event or gathering simply to avoid feeling left out, regardless of whether they genuinely want to participate. One of the most interesting aspects of FOMO is its connection to our brain's reward system. When we experience FOMO, our brain releases stress hormones and chemicals associated with reward and anticipation. This creates a complicated relationship with our social lives, where the desire for connection can sometimes translate into a cycle of anxiety and discontent. In many ways, FOMO has been amplified by the culture surrounding social media. Platforms like Instagram and Snapchat allow individuals to share their lives in real time. While this can bring people together, it also means that we are constantly exposed to a curated highlight reel of others' lives. The pressure to keep up with these portrayals can create a distorted view of reality. It's easy to forget that social media typically showcases only the best moments, leaving out the mundane or challenging experiences that are also part of life. To illustrate this, consider a person looking through their feed and seeing photos of a lavish vacation. They might feel an acute sense of envy, wishing they could experience the same adventure. However, what they don't see are the moments of stress or hassle that inevitably accompany travel, such as airport delays or logistical challenges. In this way, FOMO can distort our perceptions, making us chase experiences that may not be as perfect as they appear. Another factor contributing to FOMO is the fear of disconnection. In a world where we often measure our worth through likes, shares, and follows, the anxiety of missing out extends beyond events to include even day-to-day interactions. The thought that friends may be hanging out without you can trigger feelings of loneliness and exclusion. This can lead to a sense of urgency to engage in social activities, not necessarily out of genuine desire, but rather out of an instinctive need to stay connected and validated. Interestingly, research has shown that FOMO can have both positive and negative effects. On the one hand, it can motivate individuals to participate in new experiences, push personal boundaries, and foster social connections. However, when experienced too intensely, it can lead to stress, dissatisfaction, and even social anxiety. Balancing the desire to belong with the awareness of one's own needs is crucial to mitigating the impact of FOMO. To navigate FOMO, it can be helpful to cultivate mindfulness and self-reflection. Taking a step back and examining your feelings can lead to greater understanding. Ask yourself why you feel compelled to engage in certain activities. Is it genuine interest, or simply a response to the fear of missing out? Engaging in activities that genuinely resonate with your interests can lead to a more fulfilling social life, reducing the grip of FOMO. Additionally, setting boundaries with social media can be beneficial. Consider taking breaks from platforms or curating your feed to include accounts that inspire and uplift you, rather than trigger feelings of inadequacy. Embracing gratitude for your own experiences, no matter how small, can also help shift focus away from what others are doing. Ultimately, FOMO is a reminder of our desire for connection and enjoyment. Understanding it as a natural reaction to our hyper-connected world can help ease the pressure we place on ourselves. Life is filled with a multitude of experiences, both big and small, and learning to appreciate those moments can lead to a more content and enriching journey. Embrace the moments you have and create new ones that resonate with your passions, for those are the experiences that truly matter. The concept of self-fulfilling prophecy is a fascinating phenomenon that highlights the powerful link between our beliefs and our actions. It suggests that our expectations can shape our reality in profound ways. Essentially, when we hold certain beliefs about ourselves or others, we often act in ways that align with those beliefs, ultimately bringing them to fruition. This can be observed in various aspects of life, from education to the workplace, and even personal relationships. Imagine a student who believes they are not good at math. This belief may lead them to avoid engaging with math problems, skipping study sessions, or feeling anxious during tests. Their lack of practice and confidence ultimately results in poor performance, reinforcing their original belief that they are not capable in math. On the other hand, consider a student who believes they excel in math. Their confidence can inspire them to tackle challenging problems, seek help when needed, and actively participate in class. This engagement typically leads to better performance, reinforcing their belief in their abilities. The workplace is another setting where self-fulfilling prophecies can come into play. Consider a manager who expects specific team members to underperform. This expectation may unintentionally lead the manager to provide less support or lower expectations for those employees. As a result, the team members may feel undervalued and demotivated, leading to a decline in their performance that reflects the manager's initial belief. Conversely, if a manager approaches all team members with the expectation that they will succeed, they are likely to create an environment that fosters growth, leading to increased performance. Self-fulfilling prophecies can also manifest in relationships. If someone believes their partner is disinterested or unloving, they may withdraw emotionally or act distant. These behaviors can cause a rift in the relationship, making the other person feel unappreciated or frustrated, thus confirming the belief of disinterest. In contrast, believing in the positive aspects of a partner can lead to nurturing behaviors that strengthen the bond between individuals. This psychological principle can be related to the concept of expectation. When teachers, for example, have high expectations for their students, they often provide more encouragement and resources, creating a cycle of success. Students can sense these high expectations, motivating them to perform better and live up to what their teachers believe they can achieve. This dynamic is illustrated in the Pygmalion Effect, where a higher expectation leads to better performance, proving how robust belief systems can be. In sports, athletes often speak about the power of visualization and positive thinking. When an athlete believes they will perform well, they may train with more intensity and confidence. This mindset not only enhances their performance, but also feeds into their belief system, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of success. Conversely, an athlete who doubts their abilities may hesitate during competition, leading to mistakes that affirm their fears. Beyond personal experiences, self-fulfilling prophecies have been studied extensively in various fields, including psychology and sociology. Research has demonstrated that beliefs can influence outcomes in many contexts, from academic achievement to interpersonal dynamics and even health. For instance, individuals who believe they are susceptible to illness may engage in behaviors that inadvertently increase their risk, such as stress and poor lifestyle choices, while those who approach their health with a positive expectation may be more proactive and alert to their well-being. Recognizing the impact of our expectations can empower us to adopt a more positive mindset. When we consciously shift our beliefs about our abilities, we set the stage for a more successful and fulfilling experience. This shift is not just limited to ourselves, it extends to how we view others. By fostering an environment where we believe in the potential of those around us, we can encourage them to thrive, ultimately creating a ripple effect of positive outcomes. In conclusion, the self-fulfilling prophecy is a potent reminder that our beliefs shape our reality. Whether in educational settings, workplaces, or personal relationships, the expectations we hold can significantly influence outcomes. By being mindful of the power of our beliefs, we have the opportunity to transform not only our own lives, but also the lives of those around us. Shifting our mindset toward positivity can lead to increased confidence, better performance, and more meaningful connections with others. Ultimately, understanding and harnessing the power of self-fulfilling prophecies can open the door to a more fulfilling and successful journey through life. Remember, the beliefs we hold are not merely thoughts. They are seeds we plant in the fertile ground of our actions, which can blossom into tangible results. In today's world, discussions about controversial topics often turn into battlegrounds of opposing views. One fascinating aspect of this dynamic is something known as the Backfire Effect. This psychological phenomenon describes how people tend to strengthen their pre-existing beliefs when confronted with information that contradicts those beliefs. Imagine a situation where you are engaging in a discussion about climate change. If you are someone who staunchly believes that climate change is a hoax, and someone presents you with scientific evidence highlighting its realities, instead of reconsidering your stance, you might double down on your original belief. This is the Backfire Effect in action. Why does this happen? One reason involves cognitive dissonance. This concept refers to the uncomfortable tension that arises when our beliefs clash with new information. To relieve this discomfort, many people choose to reject the new information rather than adjust their beliefs. In our climate change discussion, the person who believes it is a hoax may respond by seeking out information that supports their view, or by dismissing the evidence as biased or flawed. In this case, the effort to defend their belief results in an even stronger commitment to it. This effect isn't limited to climate change. It appears in various areas of public debate, such as politics, religion, and health. For instance, consider a discussion about vaccines. If someone firmly believes that vaccines are harmful, providing them with research regarding their safety may not persuade them to alter their view. Instead, they might view this evidence as a form of misinformation, reinforcing their original belief about the dangers of vaccination. The Backfire Effect reveals an interesting side of human psychology. It shows that our beliefs are often intertwined with our identity. When we feel challenged, especially on issues that are important to us, it can feel like a personal attack. This is particularly true in matters linked to our values or core beliefs. Imagine someone is very passionate about a particular diet, say a vegan lifestyle. If they are presented with evidence about the benefits of a meat-inclusive diet, they may feel defensive. Rather than considering the new insights, they could respond with emotional arguments or selective skepticism about the research being presented. The implications of the Backfire Effect extend beyond individual conversations. In society, when organizations or authorities attempt to dispel myths with facts, they may inadvertently entrench those myths even further. This is a critical challenge for science communicators and educators. Fighting misinformation can feel like an uphill battle when facts do not sway opinions. So how can we navigate conversations in light of the Backfire Effect? One strategy is to approach discussions with empathy and understanding. Rather than attacking a person's beliefs, it may be more effective to find common ground. For instance, instead of challenging a belief directly, one could share personal experiences or stories that align with the new information. This approach can be much more persuasive because it frames the conversation in a relatable context. Moreover, it pays to be mindful of the language we use. If someone feels cornered by overly aggressive discourse, they are more likely to retreat into their beliefs. On the other hand, gentle prompts that invite reflection rather than confrontation may help open a door to new perspectives. For example, instead of saying, "You are wrong, here are the facts," a more effective phrasing could be, "Have you ever thought about it this way?" This can lead to a more productive dialogue, where ideas can be exchanged without the immediate threat to one's beliefs. Another approach is to present information in a way that first acknowledges the other person's emotions and concerns. This establishes trust and shows that you respect their viewpoint, even if you disagree. Active listening can also be a powerful tool. By genuinely trying to understand where the other person is coming from, you can create a space where both parties feel heard. This often leads to more productive conversations. It is also crucial to remember that change takes time. Shifting someone's perspective doesn't happen instantly. It requires patience and an environment where discourse can happen freely without fear of judgment. Understanding the mechanics of the backfire effect can prepare us to engage more thoughtfully in discussions and debates. As we navigate the complexities of human belief systems, it's important to cultivate an attitude of curiosity rather than one of hostility. Questions like, what experiences led you to that belief, can encourage exploration and understanding rather than defensiveness. This approach transforms contentious debates into opportunities for learning and sharing, enriching both parties involved. In conclusion, the backfire effect illustrates the complexities of human belief and the challenges that arise in discussions about controversial topics. It reminds us that we are not just exchanging facts, but are engaged in a dance of identities and emotions. By fostering an atmosphere of respect, empathetic listening, and open-mindedness, we can create pathways for genuine dialogue that may, in time, lead to a greater understanding of each other's viewpoints. So the next time you find yourself in a heated discussion, remember the intricate nature of belief and the importance of approaching each conversation with care and compassion. Imagine sitting in a bustling cafe, observing the chatter and laughter around you. You might notice that people often assume that others share their beliefs, preferences, and thoughts. This phenomenon is called projection bias, and it plays a significant role in how we interact with each other and understand the world around us. Projection bias is the tendency to assume that other people think, feel, or believe the same things that we do. This can influence our emotions and behaviors in ways we might not even realize. For example, if you believe that a particular movie is fantastic, you may expect that everyone else feels the same way. When someone expresses their indifference to or dislike for that movie, it can lead to confusion or even frustration. You wonder, how can they not see what I see? This reflects a common experience where our beliefs shape our expectations of others. Empathy, which is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others, often becomes clouded by projection bias. We might assume that others have experienced the same joys or struggles we have, leading to a disconnect in understanding their unique situations. For instance, consider two friends discussing a recent challenge at work. Friend A might share feelings of anxiety and stress about an upcoming project, while friend B equally assumes that the same level of pressure is felt on the other side. However, friend B might not even be experiencing stress at all, instead viewing the project as an opportunity for growth. Here, projection bias skews the perception and could hinder effective communication. In social interactions, projection bias can lead to misjudgments. We might assume that someone's cold demeanor is a reflection of their personality when it might be that they are simply having a tough day. When we project our thoughts onto others, we might miss the nuances of their actual feelings and emotions. This can create barriers in relationships, whether they are friendships, family ties, or even professional networks. Each individual has their own experiences and realities, and failing to acknowledge that can isolate us from understanding one another. Consider how projection bias can play out in broader societal perspectives. In discussions about social issues, individuals might insist that their own experiences universally apply. A person who has faced certain challenges may believe that everyone else has had similar obstacles, leading to a lack of recognition of distinct circumstances. This is especially true in conversations about culture, privilege, or hardship, where assumptions can lead to misunderstandings and a lack of unity. One way to mitigate the effects of projection bias is to actively listen and seek to understand different viewpoints. By engaging in conversations and asking open-ended questions, we can learn more about others' experiences. When we open ourselves up to listening, we free ourselves from the prison of our own assumptions. For example, instead of saying, "You must feel this way too," try asking, "How do you feel about that?" This simple shift can create a space where genuine dialogue and empathy can flourish. Another vital aspect to consider is the impact of social media on our perceptions through projection bias. Social media platforms often present a curated version of reality, one that our minds may interpret as the norm. When we see friends enjoying vacations, seemingly perfect family moments, or major achievements, it's easy to project our own expectations onto them. We might think they always have it together or they must be so happy. However, these snapshots do not reflect the full story, and recognizing this can help us foster a deeper understanding of our relationships, both online and offline. In developing a more empathetic mindset, being aware of our own biases is essential. Engaging in self-reflection allows us to examine our assumptions and consider the ways they might color our interactions. Perhaps there have been times when you brushed aside the feelings of others because they didn't align with your own experiences. Acknowledging these moments can deepen our emotional intelligence and improve how we relate to those around us. Furthermore, by recognizing that everyone comes from different backgrounds with varying beliefs and emotions, we open the door for learning. We begin to understand that a person's reaction to an event may stem from a set of experiences vastly different from our own. This awareness can enrich our connections, creating a tapestry of diverse perspectives that enhance our collective experiences. Therefore, becoming mindful of projection bias encourages us to explore the world through the lens of curiosity rather than assumption. Instead of trying to impose our perspective on others, we can strive to uncover the richness of their individual journeys. This journey of understanding can lead to more authentic connections, where empathy flourishes and mutual respect become foundational. In summary, projection bias is a fascinating aspect of human interaction, deeply woven into our social fabric. By recognizing how our beliefs shape our expectations of others, we can enhance our empathy and improve our relationships. Engaging in active listening and self-reflection are steps we can take to ensure our interactions are informed by understanding rather than assumptions. Ultimately, embracing the complexity of human experience not only enriches our lives but also fosters deeper connections with those around us. So the next time you find yourself in a conversation, remember to listen and discover the unique insights that others bring to the table, allowing for connections that transcend our biases and deepen our appreciation for the diversity of thought. Optimism bias is a fascinating psychological phenomenon that shapes the way we perceive our lives, our futures, and even the world around us. This term refers to the tendency for people to overestimate the likelihood of positive outcomes while underestimating the chances of negative ones. Imagine you are gearing up for a major life event, like starting a new job or moving to a new city. You might envision all the great things that await you, making new friends, boosting your career, or enjoying a vibrant community. You see the sunny path ahead, filled with opportunities and success. This hopeful outlook is a perfect example of optimism bias at work. It's a natural inclination and can carry a sense of excitement and confidence. Consider how optimism bias can also influence our everyday decisions. When planning a vacation, people often anticipate perfect weather and seamless travel experiences. They envision themselves lounging on a sun-drenched beach, free of any travel delays or last-minute cancellations. While it's wonderful to dream about sunny skies and serene adventures, it's also helpful to acknowledge that unexpected challenges could arise: flight delays, weather changes, or hotel mix-ups. However, our minds tend to lean towards the positive, making those scenarios feel less likely. Optimism bias is not just limited to individual experiences, it seeps into our views on health and lifestyle choices as well. People frequently underestimate the risk associated with unhealthy habits, believing that it won't happen to me. For instance, someone might think that even though they don't exercise regularly or maintain a balanced diet, they are unlikely to face health issues because they feel fine in the moment. This skewed perception can lead to complacency, as individuals take less care of themselves than they should. On a larger scale, optimism bias can influence societal behaviors and expectations. Think about how people approach climate change or environmental issues. While many are concerned, there remains a tendency for individuals to believe that technological advancements will inherently solve these problems before they become critical. This belief may lead to a lack of urgency in adopting sustainable practices. We often feel that the future will be brighter, and scientists will find solutions, neglecting the important role we each play in ensuring a healthier planet. Interestingly, optimism bias is not always detrimental. In some cases, it can serve as a powerful motivator. The belief that things will get better helps people persevere through tough times. It fosters resilience, pushing individuals to take risks, pursue goals, or embark on new ventures. For example, entrepreneurs are often fueled by an optimistic belief in their vision, convinced that their product or service will succeed even in the face of skepticism. This faith can be the driving force behind innovation and creativity. It's essential to strike a balance between optimism and realism. Acknowledging both positive and negative possibilities prepares you for whatever may come your way. For instance, when prepping for a job interview, a healthy dose of optimism can boost your confidence, but recognizing the potential challenges, like difficult questions or stiff competition, can better equip you to handle the situation. Optimism bias may also play a role in our relationships. People often believe their friendships or romantic partnerships will remain strong without significant effort, which can lead to disappointment or misunderstandings down the line. Acknowledging that relationships require communication, consideration, and care helps set the foundation for deeper connections with others. Research in psychology often explores optimism bias through experiments and surveys. In studies, participants frequently report feeling less vulnerable to various risks than their peers. This disparity can lead to a collective sense of false security. For example, when asked about their driving skills, most individuals will rate themselves as above average, a clear indication of this bias at play. Such overconfidence can sometimes lead to reckless decisions on the road. In some contexts, optimism bias may also manifest in financial decision-making. Investors may overestimate the potential gains from high-risk investments, while underestimating the chances of substantial losses. This can result in poor financial choices. Guided by the sunny prospects they envision, they may overlook key warning signs or fail to conduct adequate research. To navigate optimism bias more effectively, mindfulness can be a useful tool. By practicing awareness of thoughts, emotions, and reactions, an individual can develop a more tempered view of their situation. This awareness allows for a better assessment of risks and rewards, promoting a more realistic approach to life's uncertainties. In conclusion, optimism bias is a captivating aspect of human psychology. It influences our hopes, decisions, and views about the world. By recognizing this bias, we can learn to appreciate the positive, while also preparing for potential challenges. This balanced perspective enhances our understanding of life's unpredictability, allowing us to embrace optimism without ignoring reality. With this awareness, we not only preserve our joyous outlook, but also build resilience in the face of adversity. Life may be uncertain, but cultivating a well-rounded view can guide us toward meaningful experiences and informed choices. Ingroup bias is a powerful concept rooted in social psychology that helps us understand how humans tend to favor members of their own group over those from different groups. This behavior is often subtle yet profound, influencing social dynamics, relationships, and even societal structures. By exploring in-group bias, we can gain insights into our actions, beliefs, and the way we relate to others. Imagine a school sports team. The players share a common identity as teammates, and they often support each other in various ways. When a team member scores a goal, the cheers and applause from the group instantly fill the air. This reinforces bonds and fosters a sense of belonging. The joy and pride are not just for individual achievement, but also celebrate group identity. This is a simple example of in-group bias, where members show strong support for their own group, often resulting in a feeling of unity and camaraderie. However, this bias can also have a darker side, leading to discrimination against those considered outsiders or part of a different group. Consider a workplace scenario. Employees who share similar backgrounds or interests may naturally gravitate towards one another, forming a tight-knit circle. They might celebrate each other's successes more enthusiastically and provide support during challenging times, while overlooking or underappreciating the contributions of those outside their immediate circle. This favoritism can create an uncomfortable environment for those who feel excluded, negatively impacting morale and collaboration. In-group bias does not only manifest in small groups, like sports teams or workplaces, it can also be observed on a larger societal scale. Imagine two communities in a city divided along ethnic, cultural, or even political lines. Members of each community may harbor an unconscious preference for their own, leading to a lack of understanding or empathy for the other group. This can perpetuate stereotypes and contribute to a cycle of misunderstanding. The more the two communities interact within their own confines, the further away they drift from finding common ground. Consider historical events that show the consequences of in-group bias. Throughout history, there have been numerous cases where groups have rallied against others, often based on identity markers such as race, religion, or nationality. For instance, during times of war, propaganda techniques tend to emphasize in-group bias, painting the enemy as inferior or dangerous. This can incite fear and hatred, leading to dehumanization and conflict, The underlying mechanism is the same. Prioritizing one's group can result in a wide range of social, cultural, and even physical confrontations. However, there are also many instances where the opposite happens. People can intentionally work to bridge divides and promote inclusivity. Imagine a team that actively encourages collaboration across diverse backgrounds. This leads to richer discussions, innovative ideas, and a more dynamic work environment. Embracing diversity not only challenges the notion of in-group bias, but can also create spaces where everyone feels valued, regardless of their background. To foster a more inclusive environment, awareness of in-group bias is essential. By recognizing our tendencies to prefer those similar to us, we can make conscious efforts to reach out to those who are different. This might mean engaging in conversations with colleagues from varied backgrounds or participating in community events that celebrate diversity. Research demonstrates that increased exposure to different groups can reduce biases and promote greater understanding between groups. Education also plays a crucial role in mitigating in-group bias. When children learn about different cultures, histories, and experiences, they develop an appreciation for diversity from an early age. Schools that implement programs emphasizing cultural competence and empathy help children recognize that everyone has unique stories and deserves respect. Fostering this understanding early can lead to a more harmonious society in the long run. Another approach to overcoming ingrained biases is through shared goals. When different groups work together toward common objectives, they often find that their differences fade into the background. For instance, community service projects that involve different community groups can encourage collaboration, fostering a sense of unity despite underlying differences. People may discover shared values or challenges, which can help break down prejudices and promote genuine connections. In-group bias is a reflection of a natural human tendency to seek affinity and belonging. While it can create strong social bonds within groups, it's essential to stay aware of its potential to foster exclusivity and discrimination. By understanding how ingrained these biases can be, we have the opportunity to challenge the status quo, encourage inclusivity, and create environments where every individual feels respected and valued. The journey begins with awareness and a willingness to embrace diversity, leading to a richer, more connected existence. The landscape of our social world is shaped by our interactions and choices, and through intentional effort, we can foster an environment where everyone thrives. Status quo bias is a fascinating concept in psychology and behavioral economics that refers to the preference for the current state of affairs. People often exhibit a resistance to change, even when the alternatives might offer significant benefits. This preference can manifest in various aspects of life, from personal choices to organizational decisions and public policy. Imagine standing in line at your favorite coffee shop. You always order the same drink and feel comfortable with that choice. Even when new and exciting options appear on the menu, you stick to your usual order. This scenario illustrates status quo bias. Many people tend to stick with familiar patterns rather than risk the uncertainty associated with change, even when that change could enhance their experience. This inclination towards the familiar is deeply rooted in human psychology. Our brains are wired to find comfort in routine, which can make stepping outside of that routine feel daunting. Research has shown that when faced with two options, individuals often choose the one that requires less effort or complexity, which often turns out to be the status quo. The mental energy required to evaluate new possibilities can lead many to favor the existing state, even if change could lead to better outcomes. In business, status quo bias can impact organizations significantly. Teams may cling to established processes that have been in place for years, resisting new technologies or methods that could improve efficiency and performance. For instance, consider a company that continues to use outdated software simply because it is what everyone is accustomed to, despite having access to more advanced and efficient tools. This reluctance to change can hinder innovation and growth, leading the organization to fall behind competitors who are willing to adapt. Moreover, this bias is not limited to individual preferences, but can extend to societal norms as well. People often resist changes in social policy, such as shifts in environmental regulations or healthcare reforms, simply because they are accustomed to the existing laws and practices. The fear of the unknown and the potential disruptions to daily life can create significant barriers to improving systems that may, in the long run, provide essential benefits to the community. Interestingly, status quo bias is also connected to the concept of loss aversion. which is the idea that losing something we have feels worse than gaining something new feels good. Because people often perceive change as a potential loss, even if it involves a gain in the long run, they may resist it. For example, consider a person who has invested in a particular career path for years. Even if an opportunity for a more fulfilling job arises, the fear of losing the stability and familiarity of their current position can lead them to hesitate, opting instead to remain in their comfort zone. To combat status quo bias, it is essential to foster a mindset that embraces change as an opportunity rather than a threat. Personal development plays a crucial role here. By starting small, individuals can gradually expose themselves to new experiences and situations, from trying a new dish at a restaurant to exploring a different hobby. These small changes can build confidence and open the door to larger transformations over time. In organizations, leaders can help counteract status quo bias through effective communication, education, and engagement. They can present data highlighting the benefits of change, involve employees in the decision-making process, and create an organizational culture that values adaptability and innovation. Encouraging shared experiences where team members can express their concerns and share their thoughts on potential changes can also foster a more open-minded atmosphere. Ultimately, understanding status quo bias can lead to a more fulfilling life. While it is natural to stick with the familiar, questioning our routines and choices can reveal new avenues for growth and excitement. By acknowledging the instinct to resist change and actively seeking out new experiences, we can transform our lives and unlock our potential. Embracing change is not just about making big leaps, but also about being open to the possibilities that lie just beyond our comfort zones. Each small step taken away from the familiar can lead to a journey of discovery, learning, and growth. The gambler's fallacy is a fascinating psychological phenomenon that has captured the interest of both casual and professional gamblers for years. It refers to the mistaken belief that past events can influence future outcomes, particularly in games of chance. Let's explore this concept in a way that's engaging and relatable. Picture yourself at a roulette table in a bustling casino. The wheel has just spun, and the ball has landed on red 5 times in a row. As you watch the wheel, you might be tempted to think that, surely, black is due to come up next. After all, red has been so lucky lately. This assumption reflects the gambler's fallacy, believing that because red has been the winner multiple times, the odds of hitting black must now be higher. However, this is a misconception. Each spin of the roulette wheel is independent of the last. The probability of the ball landing on red or black remains the same with every turn, unaffected by previous outcomes. In fact, the chance of the ball landing on red or black is exactly the same, no matter how many times it has landed on one color before. The wheel has no memory. It does not account for previous spins. This idea can also extend to other games of chance. Consider a simple coin toss. If you toss a coin and it lands on heads 3 times in a row, you might think that tails is due. Once again, this is a classic example of the gambler's fallacy. The odds for each toss remain at 5,050, regardless of past outcomes. Each flip is its own distinct event, poised to result in either heads or tails, without influence from the flips that came before. The misperception isn't just limited to gambling. It can be observed in various areas of life. For example, someone might believe that if they keep losing at a particular game, they are bound to get a win soon because they've been on a losing streak. This flawed reasoning leads people to chase losses, believing that if they just keep playing, their luck will turn around. The truth is, luck does not operate on a schedule or a pattern. Each instance is separate, and outcomes remain governed by random chance. Many individuals find themselves caught in this fallacy when playing games like blackjack or slots as well. In a game of blackjack, for instance, one might leave a table thinking that if cards of a certain value have appeared frequently, it's time for those cards to balance out. Yet in reality, the deck continues to deliver cards randomly, no matter what has appeared in the past. This misconception can significantly impact decision-making behavior and financial well-being. Gamblers might increase their bets when they perceive a streak, driven by the belief that their winnings or losses will somehow balance out. It leads to a cycle of risk that can contribute to heavy losses, all based on an erroneous interpretation of probability. To break down how these beliefs can manifest, let's think about sports. Imagine a baseball player who's on a hitting streak. Fans and commentators may begin to speculate that the player is due for a hit or a miss based on their recent performances. However, each at-bat isn't influenced by previous swings. It remains an individual battle between the player and the pitcher, defined by skill, circumstance, and natural variation. The gambler's fallacy also relies heavily on personal anecdotes. Oftentimes, people will recount examples where their intuition about streaks paid off, amplifying their belief in this fallacy. However, these instances are often just coincidental and do not reflect the true nature of probability. Awareness of the gambler's fallacy can be incredibly beneficial. By understanding this common pitfall, gamblers can adopt a more rational approach to their gameplay. It encourages individuals to focus on the fundamental rules of the games they are playing, rather than getting caught up in streaks that simply do not exist in an objective sense. Instead of hoping for a win based on past performances, a more effective strategy would be to detach emotional responses from gameplay and focus on strategies that yield sound decisions based on odds rather than feelings. This understanding can promote smarter betting habits and allow individuals to enjoy games for their entertainment value, rather than as a pathway to retribution for previous losses. In conclusion, the gambler's fallacy illustrates a powerful example of how our minds can lead us astray. By recognizing that past outcomes do not have bearing on future events, gamers and casual players alike can make more informed decisions. Every spin of the wheel, every flip of the coin, and every card drawn stands alone, promising a fresh start and reminding us of the beauty of randomness in games and life itself. Awareness is a key step in overcoming this cognitive bias, allowing individuals to enjoy their experiences more fully without succumbing to misleading patterns of thought. Imagine a situation where you have to make a choice, perhaps about which car to buy. You've done some research, read reviews, and even test-driven a few options. But then, you come across a car that you've always wanted, one that reminds you of your younger years, filled with memories of freedom and adventure. Suddenly, your decision-making process changes. Instead of relying solely on the facts, your emotions start to play a significant role. This is an example of motivated reasoning, where our feelings, desires, and personal experiences heavily influence our decisions. Motivated reasoning occurs when we let our emotions guide our thoughts. It's that inner voice telling us to favor certain conclusions because they align with what we want to believe or feel. For instance, if you adore a brand and hear negative news about it, your instinct might be to downplay those reports. You might think, there has to be a good explanation for this, or that cannot be true because my experience has always been positive. This type of reasoning can lead to skewed justifications that make our bias feel reasonable. One of the most compelling aspects of motivated reasoning is how it manifests in various aspects of our lives. Take political beliefs, for example. People often seek out information that supports their existing views while dismissing contradictory evidence. Research shows that when individuals encounter information that challenges their political stance, they tend to scrutinize it more critically than information that aligns with their beliefs. This selective approach to information isn't about finding the truth. It's about affirming what we already believe. Emotional ties can also warp our decision-making in personal relationships. Imagine someone in a toxic friendship. You might see your friend behaving poorly, yet your loyalty and shared history cloud your judgment. You may rationalize their behavior by thinking, they're just having a hard time, or they've always been supportive. This motivated reasoning can keep you in harmful situations, just because your emotions lead your reflections. In the realm of consumer choices, the brand loyalty you feel towards a product can lead you to disregard negative reviews. If you're a longtime Apple user, for instance, and you hear complaints about a new iPhone model, you may catch yourself thinking of reasons why these criticisms don't hold weight. You might recall the trust you have in the brand, or remember all the positive experiences you've had, allowing these emotions to create a lens through which you view the information. Your justification evolves into a narrative that bolsters your loyalty instead of evaluating the product objectively based on independent facts. The workplace can be another rich ground for motivated reasoning. Consider an employee who has invested much time and energy into a particular project. When the project's outcome isn't as successful as hoped, their emotional investment may lead them to justify their decisions. You might hear them say, "We tried our best with the resources we had," or "the market conditions were against us." These rationalizations help them cope with disappointment and defend their choices, even if the project may have faced shortcomings due to poor planning or execution. Our emotional responses also influence how we approach challenges. People often choose to see obstacles as more threatening when they have a negative emotional state. For instance, if you are feeling anxious about a presentation, you may focus solely on the potential for failure, leading to avoidant behavior. But if you approach the same challenge in a positive frame of mind, you may see it as an exciting opportunity. This shift in emotional perspective can significantly impact not just the choices we make, but the motivations behind them. In a broader context, societal issues can illustrate motivated reasoning on a larger scale. For example, during discussions around climate change, individuals may interpret facts differently based on their emotional connections or affiliations. Those who feel a strong attachment to their lifestyle choices may downplay environmental data to maintain their current way of living. Conversely, people who prioritize sustainability might focus on evidence supporting changes that align with their values, fostering a sense of urgency. Each individual's reasoned interpretation becomes a reflection of their emotional investments, rather than an unbiased analysis of the facts. Motivated reasoning serves as a reminder that we are not simply rational decision-makers. Our emotions shape how we perceive information and the choices we decide to make, often leading to justifications that fit our narrative. Understanding this relationship between emotion and reasoning is essential. By recognizing how our feelings influence our thoughts, we can strive to create a balance, aiming to incorporate objectivity alongside our emotional responses. This could lead to wiser decisions, fostering personal growth and more informed perspectives. In essence, while emotions color our understanding of the world, acknowledging the presence of motivated reasoning helps to clarify the fog of bias that can obscure the truth. Whether in personal relationships, workplace dynamics, consumer loyalty, or societal views, recognizing how our emotions drive our reasoning can empower us to become more aware of the reasons behind our decisions. It opens the door to a more balanced approach that honors both our emotional intelligence and the importance of critical thinking. The overconfidence effect is a fascinating cognitive bias that often leads people to overestimate the accuracy of their beliefs and judgments. This phenomenon can be particularly pronounced in situations involving financial and strategic decision-making, where individuals may have a heightened sense of certainty about their choices and predictions. Imagine you are browsing through a financial news website and you come across a chart showing the stock performance of a particular company. You remember hearing about how innovative its products are, and you feel a strong inclination to invest in its shares. However, what you may not realize is that your confidence in this decision is largely influenced by overconfidence, which can skew your perception of the risks involved. Research has shown that people frequently believe they possess superior knowledge or skills compared to others. This tendency can manifest itself in various settings, from business meetings to casual conversations. For instance, during a brainstorming session at work, you might be convinced that your idea is the best one on the table, overlooking contributions from your colleagues that could be equally valuable or even better. This inclination to favor your own thoughts can hinder collaboration and lead to suboptimal outcomes. In the realm of investing, the overconfidence effect can lead individuals to make impulsive decisions based on a strong belief in their analytical abilities. For example, a novice investor might analyze a company's performance and predict its stock will rise dramatically, neglecting to consider the volatility of the market or other external factors that could influence results. Despite only skimpy research, this investor may plunge ahead, fearing that hesitation will result in missed opportunities. This can lead to significant losses when reality does not align with their predictions. Interestingly, the overconfidence effect is not limited to individuals. Organizations too can fall into the trap of overestimating their capabilities. Companies that have enjoyed success in the past may presume that their strategies will continue to yield positive results, even amidst changing market conditions. This mindset can prevent firms from adapting to new challenges or realigning their strategies in response to competition, ultimately jeopardizing their future. It's not just monetary decisions where overconfidence appears. It also plays a significant role in everyday life. Picture a scenario where a driver is convinced of their superior navigational skills. They might attempt to take an unfamiliar shortcut, confidently ignoring signs or directions, believing they have a better sense of direction than anyone else. This misplaced confidence can lead to getting lost and wasting time, or worse, affecting safety. Moreover, studies indicate that overconfidence is often more prevalent among experts than novices. An expert in a field might possess vast knowledge, yet this depth of understanding can create an illusion of invulnerability. They may feel that their experience guarantees correct predictions, blinding them to the inherent uncertainties that accompany any decision-making process. This is strikingly evident in fields like finance and medicine, where mistakes made out of overconfidence can have dire consequences. To combat the overconfidence effect, it is essential to remain aware of its influence. One method to counter this bias is to seek feedback and diverse perspectives. By engaging with others and generously sharing ideas, you can challenge your assumptions and gain insights that may have eluded you when relying solely on your own judgment. This collaborative approach allows for a more balanced evaluation of beliefs and decisions, reducing the risk posed by overconfidence. Another strategy is adopting a mindset of humility. Acknowledging that uncertainty is an inherent part of life can serve as a powerful antidote to overconfidence. Embracing the idea that no one can predict outcomes with absolute certainty encourages more careful and considered decision-making. This understanding fosters a greater appreciation for the complexities present in various situations, prompting individuals and organizations to contemplate potential pitfalls. Additionally, cultivating awareness of past experiences can provide crucial lessons. By reflecting on previous decisions that were swayed by overestimation of one's own knowledge, you can recognize patterns of behavior that may lead to overconfidence. Acknowledging these moments can serve as a valuable reminder to apply a more cautious and analytical approach in future scenarios. In conclusion, the overconfidence effect is a compelling psychological phenomenon that can significantly impact financial and strategic decisions. It often leads individuals and organizations to overestimate their beliefs and abilities, potentially resulting in costly mistakes. By recognizing this bias and applying strategies to mitigate its effects, such as seeking diverse perspectives and fostering a mindset of humility, people can make more informed decisions that align closer to reality. Embracing uncertainty and remaining open to the insights of others can pave the way for smarter, more prudent choices in the complex landscape of decision-making. The concept of the bandwagon effect is a fascinating psychological phenomenon that highlights how our beliefs and decisions can be influenced by those around us. Imagine walking down a busy street and noticing a group of people gathered around a street performer. Out of curiosity, you join the crowd and soon find yourself applauding and laughing along, even if you initially had no interest in the performance. This is a simple illustration of the bandwagon effect in action, as you feel compelled to join others in their excitement. One of the most evident places we see the bandwagon effect is in the world of fashion and trends. Think about a time when a particular style became hugely popular overnight. For instance, consider the rise of certain clothing items like oversized sweaters or brightly colored sneakers. At first, they might have seemed unusual or even unattractive, but as more and more people started wearing them, the tide shifted. Soon, the same pieces that once seemed odd became staples in our wardrobes. This dynamic is often fueled by celebrities and influencers who lead the way. When a famous personality is spotted wearing a new brand or style, it can create a surge of interest among fans and followers. People may suddenly feel the urge to adopt similar looks, even if it's not their usual style. Social media plays a massive role here, as platforms like Instagram and TikTok can amplify trends in real time, leading to a situation where everyone wants to be part of the latest craze. As we dive deeper into the bandwagon effect, it's essential to understand its implications. It is not just limited to fashion. It can extend to beliefs, opinions, and even political views. Consider a scenario where a particular idea gains traction in a community. At first, it may seem controversial or radical. However, as more individuals start to support and vocalize this idea, the initial resistance weakens. People might shift their views, not necessarily because they have conducted thorough research, but simply because they want to align with the growing majority. Let's take a look at trends in technology. When a new smartphone or gadget is released, early adopters often share their experiences online. Their excitement can create a ripple effect, leading others to purchase the same device without engaging in deep comparisons or evaluations. The bandwagon effect can sometimes overshadow individual preferences, pushing people to choose what is popular instead of what best suits their needs. The bandwagon effect can also manifest in our daily interactions. Picture a scenario in a classroom setting. When a few students begin to raise their hands to answer questions, others may follow suit, even if they were initially hesitant. The collective energy and enthusiasm can create an environment where participation feels more approachable and less intimidating. This behavior reflects how social dynamics shape our willingness to engage or express opinions. Another interesting aspect to consider is the role of conformity. People have an inherent desire to fit in and feel accepted by their peers. This desire can lead to adopting beliefs or behaviors to avoid feeling left out or judged. Whether it is choosing a popular movie, a trending diet, or a specific lifestyle, individuals might find themselves swayed by what others are doing. The fear of being the odd one out can be a powerful motivator. However, this effect can have its drawbacks. It can stifle individuality and critical thinking. When everyone seems to support a particular trend or idea, those who think differently might hold back their opinions to avoid social friction. This situation can lead to groupthink, where the collective pursuit of agreement prevents the exploration of diverse perspectives. As a result, innovation and creativity may suffer when people hesitate to voice alternative thoughts. Historical events provide examples of the bandwagon effect, particularly in the realms of politics and economics. Consider a political candidate gaining momentum, as polls reveal growing support. As more individuals express their backing, others may feel compelled to join in, fearing they will miss out on being part of a winning team. This tendency can create a snowball effect, whereby the perception of success can often contribute to more success, regardless of the candidate's actual policies or qualifications. In marketing, companies leverage the bandwagon effect to drive sales. Think about the limited-time offer campaigns, or the bestseller labels often seen on products. These strategies tap into a consumer's desire to align with popular choices, encouraging them to jump on the bandwagon before they miss out. Advertisements featuring groups of happy, diverse people using the same product create an image of acceptance that can influence others to follow suit. The bandwagon effect is an intriguing aspect of human behavior, illustrating how social dynamics influence the way we think and act. It highlights the balance between individual preference and societal influence, demonstrating that our choices may not always be as independent as we believe. Understanding this effect can empower us to make more conscious decisions, reminding us to reflect on our preferences and beliefs rather than simply following the crowd. In conclusion, the bandwagon effect serves as a reminder of our interconnectedness as individuals and how easily we can be swayed by the actions and opinions of those around us. From fashion trends to political beliefs, this psychological phenomenon shapes not only our choices, but the very fabric of society itself. So the next time you find yourself drawn to a new trend, take a moment to reflect on whether it's a genuine interest or simply the allure of joining the crowd. The placebo effect is a fascinating phenomenon that has intrigued scientists, doctors, and psychologists for decades. At its core, the placebo effect occurs when a person experiences a real improvement in their condition after receiving an inert treatment, simply because they believe that treatment will work. This powerful influence of belief highlights the mind's ability to affect the body in complex ways. Let's imagine a scenario involving a new medication. In clinical trials, participants are often divided into two groups. One group receives the actual medication, while the other gets a placebo, which can be a sugar pill or salt water. Surprisingly, many individuals in the placebo group report improvement in their symptoms, even though they receive no active ingredient. This raises an intriguing question. How can a pill with no medicinal properties yield tangible benefits? One explanation lies in the brain's response to expectations. When a person believes they are receiving a treatment, their brain releases various neurotransmitters that can alleviate pain, reduce anxiety, or improve overall well-being. For example, when someone takes a sugar pill thinking it's a painkiller, the brain may release endorphins, which are natural pain-relieving chemicals. This effect is not merely psychological, but has physical implications, demonstrating the intricate connections between our minds and bodies. The placebo effect is not limited to medications. It can occur in various contexts, such as when patients undergo a specific procedure or therapy where they believe that the intervention will help them. Consider a situation where a person receives physical therapy for chronic pain. If they fully trust that the treatment will be beneficial, they may experience a reduction in discomfort, which can be attributed to their belief rather than any measurable change in their condition. Interestingly, the effectiveness of a placebo can vary depending on several factors. Research has shown that the way a placebo is presented can influence its efficacy. For example, patients who receive a placebo in a clinical setting that is warm and welcoming, with a doctor who is reassuring, may experience greater improvements than those who receive the same treatment in a cold, clinical environment. This underlines the importance of the therapeutic context and the patient-doctor relationship in enhancing the power of belief. Moreover, cultural beliefs play a significant role in shaping the placebo effect. In some cultures, individuals may respond more favorably to treatments that align with their expectations and beliefs about health. For instance, if a person believes strongly in holistic healing practices, they may experience a more pronounced effect from a placebo presented as a traditional remedy. This illustrates how the placebo effect is not just a personal experience, but can be influenced by societal perspectives and narratives surrounding health and treatment. It is also essential to recognize that the placebo effect is not the same as faking or pretending to be better. Individuals experiencing this effect genuinely perceive improvements in their condition, though there is no active component in the treatment they received. This highlights the subjective nature of health experiences and the complexities involving physical symptoms and emotional states. In recent years, scientists have made strides in understanding the biological mechanisms behind the placebo effect. Studies using brain imaging technologies show changes in brain activity patterns when individuals take placebos, indicating that physical changes can occur even without active medication. This research may lead to a better understanding of how harnessing the placebo effect could enhance patient care in the future by focusing on patients' expectations and beliefs. The implications for medical research are profound. In clinical trials, accounting for the placebo effect is crucial for accurately assessing the efficacy of new treatments. Researchers must design their studies to differentiate real therapeutic effects from those driven by belief alone. This intricacy adds an additional layer of complexity to the research process, but also opens avenues for deeper understanding. Several strategies are being investigated to maximize the benefits of the placebo effect in clinical practice. These include enhancing communication and the overall therapeutic environment, educating patients about the role of the mind in health, and fostering an atmosphere of trust and support. Healthcare providers can play a significant role in helping patients harness the power of their beliefs, potentially leading to better health outcomes. As we continue to explore the nature of the placebo effect, it becomes clear that belief has healing potential that should not be overlooked. Understanding this phenomenon can empower both patients and healthcare providers to create a collaborative approach to treatment that incorporates the mind's influence. This understanding encourages the integration of psychological and emotional support alongside traditional medical practices. The placebo effect invites us to reflect on the complexity of human health and the intricate interplay between the mind and body. It serves as a reminder of the power of positive thinking and the incredible capabilities of our brains to influence physical experiences. As research progresses, we may unlock even more secrets of the placebo effect, allowing us to utilize it effectively in enhancing our overall well-being and improving healthcare delivery. The potential to harness such a powerful ally within ourselves is both inspiring and encouraging, reminding us that our beliefs have the power to shape our experiences in profound ways. Imagine you are walking into a room filled with people you don't know. Your heart begins to race, and you feel like all the eyes in the room are glued to you. You might adapt your behavior, adjust your clothing, or even second-guess what you want to say next. This feeling isn't uncommon, and it's tied to a fascinating psychological phenomenon known as the spotlight effect. The spotlight effect refers to our tendency to overestimate the degree to which others notice and pay attention to our behaviors, appearance, and even our mistakes. This effect can lead people to feel anxious or self-conscious in social situations. It's as if there's an imaginary spotlight shining down on us, highlighting every little detail of our actions for everyone to see. However, the truth is that most people are more focused on themselves than they are on others. This phenomenon plays a significant role in how we perceive our social interactions. For instance, when you spill a drink at a party, you might feel like everyone is staring and judging you. You might think, "How embarrassing. They're all going to remember this." In reality, many of the people in that room are likely caught up in their conversations or are busy with their own concerns. Most of them may not even notice your mishap, or if they do, they might forget about it in moments. Social anxiety can intensify due to the spotlight effect. If you are particularly self-conscious, you may start to believe that every small mistake is magnified in the eyes of others. This mindset can create a loop where your nervousness leads to overthinking, which can make you misread social cues, further distancing you from that imagined spotlight. This is especially prevalent in situations like public speaking or meeting new people, where the pressure to perform well can feel overwhelming. Interestingly, we are often our harshest critics. When we look in the mirror, we may hone in on our perceived flaws, overlooking the many positive attributes and traits that others might see. For example, you might obsess over a blemish on your face or the fit of your clothes, while others are noticing the warmth of your smile or the kindness in your eyes. This skewed perception can diminish our self-image and affect how we interact with others. The spotlight effect can also have implications for our choices and behaviors. In a world where social media amplifies the visibility of our lives, people may feel even more scrutinized. They might curate their posts meticulously, worried about how many likes or comments each photo will get. This constant evaluation can lead to anxiety and an unhealthy comparison with others. The truth is that many individuals are more concerned about their appearances or statuses online rather than paying attention to what others are sharing. One vital aspect of overcoming the spotlight effect is recognizing that the spotlight is often dimmer than we think. When we realize that most people are not scrutinizing us as closely as we believe, it can be liberating. It can prompt us to act more authentically. Instead of viewing every interaction as a performance where we must excel, we can shift our focus to genuine connections with those around us. Embracing our authentic selves allows us to be more comfortable and confident in our interactions. Another path to mitigating the effects of this phenomenon involves practicing self-compassion. Rather than allowing our flaws to dominate our self-image, we can remind ourselves that everyone makes mistakes and has imperfections. By viewing ourselves through a kinder lens, we can reduce the weight of self-imposed scrutiny. When we show compassion to ourselves, we cultivate an environment where we can manage our social anxiety more effectively. Sharing personal experiences can also help alleviate feelings of being under the spotlight. When you open up about your own anxieties or awkward moments, it allows others to see that they are not alone in their struggles. This creates a bond with others, uniting people over shared experiences. You might discover that your embarrassment about stumbling over words during a conversation mirrors someone else's story, bringing laughter and connection. Lastly, engaging in mindfulness practices can help shift our focus away from the imagined spotlight. Mindfulness encourages being present and attentive to our surroundings rather than fixating on how others perceive us. By grounding ourselves in the moment, we can enjoy conversations, appreciate the environment, and foster authentic connections without the burden of self-doubt. Understanding the spotlight effect not only offers comfort, but also encourages growth. By recognizing that we overemphasize others' attentiveness to our behaviors, we can interact with more confidence and authenticity. We can learn to let go of the notion that everyone is watching us, allowing us to connect with others on a deeper level. So the next time you feel that weight of scrutiny, remember, it's likely not as heavy as you think. Embrace who you are, engage with those around you, and enjoy the beautiful moments that arise from genuine human connection. Reactive devaluation is a fascinating psychological phenomenon that occurs in negotiations and diplomacy, where individuals or groups tend to undervalue or dismiss proposals simply because they originate from an opposing party. This behavior stems from a natural bias toward viewing ideas from adversaries with skepticism. It can significantly impact how diplomatic negotiations unfold and the outcomes they yield. Imagine a scenario where two countries are negotiating a trade deal. Country A offers certain concessions, but because Country B perceives Country A as a rival, they may instinctively devalue these offers. Instead of focusing on the merits of the proposal, they allow their biases to cloud their judgment. This can lead to a stalemate where valuable opportunities are lost due to preconceived notions rather than the actual content of the proposals. Reactive devaluation often springs from the emotional dynamics of negotiation. Trust plays a crucial role in any negotiation process. When trust is low, as is often the case between adversaries, any proposal from the other side is seen as self-serving or insincere. For instance, if an opponent suggests eliminating tariffs on certain goods, the receiving party may think, "What's the catch?" rather than considering how this could be beneficial for both sides. This tendency can also manifest in a variety of contexts outside of international relations. For example, in a workplace setting, if one department proposes a system change that another department views as competitive, the second department might reject it outright, not based on its merits but because of its source. This scenario highlights how reactive devaluation can stifle innovation and collaboration. Instead of a healthy exchange of ideas, the result is often a blockage of potentially productive conversations. Interestingly, reactive devaluation can affect individuals at all levels of negotiation, from high-stakes diplomatic talks to everyday conversations. A common example could involve a couple discussing household responsibilities. If one partner suggests a change in how chores are divided, and the other partner feels resentful about past disagreements, they might dismiss the suggestion, viewing it as unfair or unhelpful because of the history involved rather than the logic of the proposal itself. One way to mitigate reactive devaluation is through effective communication and establishing common ground. By acknowledging past grievances and focusing on mutual interests, negotiators may find it easier to value each other's proposals objectively. It is vital for parties to highlight the benefits that both sides could gain, thereby reframing the conversation away from adversarial positions and toward collaboration. Moreover, understanding the mechanisms behind reactive devaluation can help negotiators prepare better strategies. For example, if one party anticipates that their proposals will be viewed negatively just because they come from an opponent, they can take steps to communicate in a way that emphasizes cooperation. This might involve using language that fosters inclusivity, framing proposals as win-win opportunities, or even bringing in third-party mediators to help reframe narratives. Research also shows that human beings are more likely to engage in reactive devaluation when they have a strong emotional investment in the outcome. For instance, in political scenarios, when a leader's identity is closely tied to their party's stance, their supporters may instinctively reject the other party's suggestions without assessing their actual value. This can create an echo chamber effect, where only like-minded proposals gain traction, further polarizing opinions. In educational settings, this phenomenon can manifest when students do not value feedback from peers perceived as competitors, even though such feedback might provide critical insights. Valuing diverse perspectives often requires a shift in mindset, encouraging individuals to see the merit in contributions from all sides, irrespective of their affiliations. Another way to challenge reactive devaluation is through building a sense of community or shared purpose. When parties can recognize shared values or overarching goals, they may become more open to considering proposals from those they view as adversaries. For example, during environmental negotiations, countries facing a common threat like climate change may be more inclined to engage with one another's proposals, recognizing that collaboration is essential for addressing a global issue that affects everyone. In conclusion, reactive devaluation is a powerful psychological barrier that can hinder constructive negotiation processes. Understanding why individuals may instinctively discount proposals from adversaries is critical for anyone involved in negotiation or diplomacy. By focusing on communication, establishing trust, and recognizing shared goals, parties can better navigate the complexities of negotiations and foster a more productive exchange of ideas. The ability to rise above adversarial biases and objectively assess proposals can lead to more innovative solutions and successful outcomes. Acquiescence bias is a fascinating psychological phenomenon that plays a significant role in how we respond to surveys and polls. It refers to the tendency of individuals to agree with statements or propositions presented to them, often without fully considering their personal beliefs or opinions. This tendency can greatly impact the reliability of survey results and the accuracy of public opinion polls. Imagine you're taking a survey about your favorite type of music. The survey asks you a series of questions with a mix of statements about various genres, like classical, rock, pop, and jazz. You find that some of the statements resonate with you, while others do not. However, when you come across a statement that simply asks if you enjoy music, you might find yourself just clicking agree without pausing to think deeply about your true preferences. This is an example of acquiescence bias in action. At its core, acquiescence bias reflects a pattern where respondents may feel uncomfortable expressing disagreement, especially with authority figures or in structured settings like surveys. The desire to be agreeable can stem from various factors, including social norms, the fear of judgment, or lack of confidence in one's opinions. As a result, this bias can lead to inflated agreement rates in survey data, obscuring the true sentiments of the population being surveyed. This irony unfolds particularly in opinion polls, where researchers strive to gather accurate data about public attitudes. When a significant number of respondents instinctively agree with survey statements, it can skew the results. For instance, if a survey asked whether individuals believe that preserving the environment is important, many might check agree without considering the nuances of their own opinions about environmental policy or what they personally contribute to sustainability. Moreover, acquiescence bias is not just limited to mundane topics. It can appear in complex and critical subjects, such as political ideologies or healthcare opinions. In a political survey, a respondent might agree with a statement about government spending on social programs out of a sense of social obligation, even if their personal views lean towards a more conservative fiscal approach. This compromises the accuracy of the data, leading to conclusions that don't entirely reflect the realities of the populace's beliefs. Researchers are aware of this bias, and they design surveys to mitigate its effects. One common approach is to include a mix of positively and negatively worded statements. For example, a survey might ask respondents to rate their agreement with both government should invest more in public education and government should avoid spending on education. By juxtaposing agree and disagree statements, the survey creators can better gauge true opinions, as individuals must think critically about each question rather than simply agreeing with whatever is presented. Surveys also sometimes employ different answer formats, such as Likert scales, to capture a range of responses more accurately. Instead of just agreeing or disagreeing, respondents can indicate their level of agreement, providing richer data that reflects varying shades of opinion. This helps combat acquiescence bias by encouraging respondents to consider where they stand on the spectrum rather than falling into the trap of simple agreement. Another strategy that can help address acquiescence bias involves ensuring anonymity for respondents. When individuals feel that their identities are protected, they may feel freer to express honest opinions without the fear of judgment. This often results in responses that more accurately reflect their true feelings about a particular issue. Acquiescence bias is an essential consideration for anyone designing research focused on human opinions. Researchers must be vigilant about recognizing and accounting for this bias to ensure the data they collect is valid and reliable. Not only does understanding acquiescence bias enhance the quality of research, but it also enriches our understanding of societal trends and public sentiment. As individuals, being aware of this bias can also benefit our interactions and discussions. It can prompt us to reflect more deeply on our opinions instead of automatically agreeing with prevailing sentiments. Next time you encounter a statement in a casual conversation or an official survey, take a moment to consider your true stance. Are you aligning with the statement because you genuinely agree, or is there an underlying reason pushing you toward agreement? In conclusion, acquiescence bias is a subtle yet powerful force in our communication and interactions with others. By recognizing this tendency, we can improve the quality of our responses in surveys and polls, while also enhancing our understanding of our personal beliefs. The implications of this awareness extend beyond the realm of research. It fosters more authentic discussions and debates in everyday situations. So as you navigate statements and surveys in the future, remember to pause and reflect on your true opinions before committing to agreement. Ultimately, a deeper understanding of acquiescence bias not only enriches data collection, but also helps nurture more honest dialogues in our social landscape.